Hello?
Hello, Jughead. This is Archie. Come over right away. It's a matter of life or death.
Oh, relax, Archie.
Attention, all true believers. Marvel Comics is on the air.
A friend of the unfortunate, enemy of criminals. In reality, Dan Garrett, a rookie patrolman, loved by everyone but suspected by none of being the Blue Beetle.
Boys and girls, your attention, please. Presenting a new exciting radio program featuring the thrilling adventures of an amazing and incredible personality.
Faster than an airplane, more powerful than a locomotive, impervious to bullets.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? It's Christopher, aka the Bronze Age Nerd, and I am joined by my best friend over here,
Matt Murdock.
Matt Murdock, from the thumbnail. You remember him?
Bigby McFly, the comic guy.
I forgot you were Matt Murdock in the thumbnail for a while. I made that like a while ago, so that was,
I gotta pretend like I'm. Where am I?
I guess that makes me Wilson Fisk.
That's right. You are Wilson Fisk.
Welcome, everybody. We're going to say hello to everybody in the chat here in a second. As you might have seen in the thumbnail, if you're tuning in, because of that, we are going to talk a little bit later about our favorite Daredevil stories and moments from Daredevil, kind of basically, what we like about Daredevil, essentially, kind of the quintessential Daredevil experience. That's the main topic of the show tonight. But we're also going to talk about some other stuff. We're going to talk about sharing the community artwork that you've sent in out there, talking about some of the news stories that have happened, and also a new segment we're going to try out about things that we've kind of been watching or, kind of media we've been absorbing. This can include things like comic books we've been picking up. It can include things like, comic books we've been reading, but also movies, TV shows, that kind of stuff. So we're going to do that too. We're going to try it out because it's something we talk about a lot in our personal lives. May as well talk about it on the show too with all of you. Sounds cool, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. Before we say hi to everybody, I want to explain that there are multiple messages from some people in the chat because they're awesome enough to be watching on different channels. You could actually watch the show right now on my channel, the Bronze Age Nerd channel. You could watch it over on Bigby McFly, the Comic Book Guys channel, and you could watch it over on the EXP, which we're streaming to all three of those channels right now on YouTube. Also the EXP on Facebook and Twitch and Instagram and all those fun places. So you can go subscribe to those places in the description down below. So check it out. In the meantime, let's say hello to GT Key Comic, who comes in first. His first place all over the place, man. I think he was first everywhere. To the point where Richard had
sure.
For those that don't know, we have a running competition between a few of our viewers about who could be first in the comments. That's right. It's an age-old game of the internet, and they're definitely keeping it going. Richard saying hello.
We're battling for points to who gets to have the solo interaction meet and greet with Sydney Sweeney, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Looks like Richard's going to lose, by the way. It will come as a close as it's going to be a very personal defeat for him. And then we got Renegade Rant Comics in the house. What's up, Renegade Rants? How's it going? Nice to see you.
Sure.
And Lyle, what's up, Lyle? Always a pleasure to see you. Oh, Comic Collector Coach made it in. We love to see that. Thank you very much. For being here. Son of Crom, what's up, Son of Crom?
Hey, Crom.
And Flippin' Pages is in here as well. What's up? What's up?
Hey, to Crom, I hope you're feeling better. He said today he was feeling under the weather. So hope you're
get well soon, man. Get well soon. Hopefully our show can put you to sleep and you can rest easy.
It's like NyQuil, but without the
without that smooth feeling that NyQuil gives you.
Right.
Plenty of people have told me they've fallen asleep watching my channel, and they say it's because I have a nice voice, but really we all know it's because I'm boring as hell.
So we just need to be like, thanks for watching our show.
Brandon, hello. Pleasure to see you. So yeah, we talked about it right before the show. I just didn't really discuss the order. Do we want to do any of these news segments at the front of the show, or do we want to do news first, or what do you want to do, Bigby?
Yeah, let's talk about what we've been watching. That sounds like
Cool.
fun. Yeah,
Let's do it. Well, it was your idea, and it's a great idea. What have you been watching, Bigby?
Let's see. So I've been watching a few movies. I watched a movie called Companion. Have you seen that one yet?
No, it's on my list, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, with Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid, the guy from The Boys who plays Huey.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying it's really good.
Lots of twists in it. Really enjoyed that movie. And then I watched the other night. I watched Love Hurts, the one with I'm gonna pronounce his name wrong. Ki Kwan, is that his name?
Yeah, he played Short Round in Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Short Round and the Goonies and Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah, and then the other guy that was in there was what was his name? Mustafa Shakir. He was in Cowboy Bebop.
The live action Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah,
Okay.
The live action. He played Jet Black. He
never watched that.
He like stole the show in this. So I really liked him a lot, and that was really good. And then I watched Finch with Tom Hanks. It's a little post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, that's a really good movie.
Yeah,
and that's a little bit older too, so I think we could safely discuss that one if we needed to. But yeah,
no, it was really good.
You know what it felt like? It felt like they kind of made Castaway, like the whole Wilson thing. They kind of made that into a movie.
I kind of felt like they put Castaway and Chappie together.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, that's a really apt description.
I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, that's a good one. I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, and then I kind of was, while I was doing some other stuff, I've halfway watching Peninsula. I guess it's a sequel to Train to Busan.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch that one too because I love Train to Busan.
Train to Busan is amazing. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. If you like zombie movies, really, really good zombie movie.
Yes.
And then I've got my shows that I've been watching: Severance, Harley Quinn, Invincible.
Same for all those.
And soon to be Daredevil.
Yes. And it's Wednesday, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
So obviously we went with the theme for the main topic of the show because of Daredevil, like Crom saying here, binging seasons 1 through 3 on Netflix.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So if you're halfway done, you're right in the Punisher stuff, which is really good. So
yeah, Punisher stuff's great. And I actually I've just been so busy with other stuff. I meant to rewatch at least parts of it. And then I kind of wanted to rewatch the Punisher show because I barely remember the Punisher show. Like I remember like the girl he's protecting, but I don't really remember like all the ins and outs of it, like.
Right.
Yeah. Was there 2 seasons of Punisher?
I think there was 2 seasons, I think, because there's the whole Jigsaw
season 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back for season 2 or something. I can't remember.
Really good. Well, he wasn't really Jigsaw until
right.
And I don't want to spoil it for Crom. He's watching, but
watch
right? After you watch Daredevil, Crom, you got to watch the Punisher show because it ties all together. So you got more to watch too.
Yeah, this is something that I was going to bring this up last week, and I'm really glad Jay is bringing it up. For those who don't know, Hydra Asylum Comics, which by the way goes sub up Hydra Asylum Comics, is actually Jay is one half of Hydra Asylum Comics. He's our producer for the show. I was going to mention this last week, but I didn't because I couldn't find. I kept seeing like announced rumors, but I didn't see like a hard press release that they're actually doing this special presentation. But in the week since then, I've seen it basically reported as fact.
I saw an interview with Barenthal talking about, because he's actually writing it, I heard.
And there's some people were talking about a comic book he was I wish I could remember which storyline it was now. He was referencing a comic book. And they were like, "Oh, that could be the story." I think it was it the Bloody Valentine?
It's the one where he has to get plastic surgery. He basically
to go undercover.
In the Marvel series, he changes his race.
Right. Yeah. So, I don't know if that'll happen.
Right.
Interesting. Well, okay, so there's a whole bevy of stuff. Was that kind of your list of things you watched, or was there?
Yeah, those are the kind of list of things I watch. If there's any of those you want to talk about, or anything the chat wants to talk about, that's fine. Or I see some people talking about things that they've been watching, and then whatever you've been watching. I just kind of wanted to like stay on top of like kind of like what we. Oh, and I've been watching a little bit of Robotech. I saw that popped up on and I'm like going back. I'm like, oh yeah, I love some of it. Like, it's slow at parts. I'm like, I've already watched this. I can skim through this part.
Well, that's the funny thing. So, Bigby and I end up watching a lot of the same stuff. We have access to a lot of the same services and stuff. So, let's see. For movies, well, I watched Captain America in the theater last Sunday, but we didn't really do spoiler stuff. We already talked about it a little bit. I watched Boy Kills World, which I hadn't seen before the other night.
I love that. That was really good.
It was fun. I love that.
A lot of twists in that.
Oh, I'm forgetting the guy's. He's the legendary voice actor who is the voice of Archer, Bob's Burgers, and I'm blanking on his name right now. But I didn't know he'd be doing the voiceover, so that totally threw me for a loop. John H. Benjamin. That's what's coming to my head. I don't know if that's right. But that I loved that part of it.
Because all he can think in is the video game voice, right?
Yeah, the fighting game. It was basically like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter or whatever. Yeah.
Some of the stuff is like player 2 is totally effing insane.
H. John. Is it H. John Benjamin or John H. Benjamin?
Or H. John. One of the two.
Okay. I'll wait for chat to correct me because I guess I think that's most of it. Crimson Tide I rewatched because unfortunately, everybody knows by now Gene Hackman passed away.
Right.
So I rewatched Crimson Tide because there's lots of great Gene Hackman movies, but I recently rewatched the Richard Donner Superman stuff, Christopher Reeve Superman. I recently watched French Connection, which is kind of an odd coincidence.
It's a great one.
It's a good one. That's a really hard movie to watch in 2025. I think I watched it at the end of 2024. It's for the first time. I'd never, because I'd seen the remake. I'd never seen the original.
Right.
And I was just like, it still was good, but it's a hard, the pacing of films from the 70s and 80s that are like the drama or thriller, they're very different than modern movies. So
we're getting into the era where now we're getting into the short attention span era. So we're getting things just cut so tight now where we had a little more room to grow tension and stuff in the older movies. So
and by the way, I absolutely, movies that I watched at the time I can still go back. It's like a weird block for me. If I watched a movie that came out in the 70s in the early 80s, I can still go back and watch it and not have any problems with the editing and the pacing. If I've never seen it before, it's a lot different. Razor Roman apparently got that one right, so thank you for that. And by the way, hello, thanks for popping in.
Hello.
See, we needed you here, Razor, because now you could correct us on H. John Benjamin. Right. But yeah, Crimson Tide, and then somebody brought up Royal Tenenbaums in chat. That was Derek, which by the way, I gave you a peace sign, Derek. Officially hello. That's a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Let's see, what other movies did I watch recently? I have a list here. I think I watched Stuber, which I don't know if that's a movie people even remember. But that's the movie with Kumail Nanjiani, and Dave Bautista, where Nanjiani is an Uber driver and Bautista's a detective who got his eyes dilated and can't see, so he can't drive himself anywhere. It's terrible. It's got some funny jokes, but it's pretty bad. I just hadn't seen it, and it was available, so I watched it. But mostly I've been watching TV shows. So I also, this is news for people that have been following me for a long time. I don't watch. Look, Bronze Age Nerd doesn't do anime or manga. I don't. It's not that I don't want to.
You're trying
it's
it
not
out.
That I've never done it. I've kind of listed before. I watched Death Note, maybe like 5, 6, 7 years ago or something like that.
Did you like it?
I love Death Note. I thought, Death Note was really good. Maybe a little long, like, because I basically binge watched it, and like I think you could tell a tighter story probably, but I mean I know it was meant to be a series, right?
Right.
So I get that. And then like I've read Berserk. There's a few things that I've dabbled in, but I'm not well versed. So I started watching Neon Genesis Evangelion because it's highly rated. I kind of went with highly rated, and I also started watching Robotech. So and I've never seen either of those before. I definitely had seen like bits of Robotech or Macross or whatever version I saw or whatever, but never like full episodes. But
I was able to watch it with a grain of salt because it was like it's the first anime that was provided to the masses of the United States and said, "Hey, check this out." And it's like, so it's kind of interesting. And I don't know if you've ever. There's a really good video where it talks about they actually took, I think it's 3 different series and blended them together into one story in that show. So
that's crazy. I think I've heard about that before, but I wasn't. I didn't know the deep lore. I kind of I'm like 18, 19 episodes in or something like that. So I've just kind of started going out because I'm kind of like not as worried about spoilers or whatever. So I've kind of started like looking.
Has Min-May started to annoy you yet?
Yes. Yes.
Min-May is a little annoying.
I really only care about the conflict. I mean, that's all I really care about in that show. But
I'll tell you, I don't want to spoil it. That show, like as a kid, exposed me to some harsh truths about characters. And someone was like,
I've heard that. I don't know the details, but I've definitely heard that. I will say, Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is the first one I started watching that a few weeks before I started watching Robotech. I'm not completely done with it. I'm near the end of the first run. I know there's like a movie or something I need to watch too. Probably even more than that, but I don't. That's all further I've looked. That show surprised me because it starts out kind of just weird. And I'm like, okay, like the action's cool, but it's weird, but it starts to make more sense as it goes along. I do like that. Right. So this is Bronze Age Nerd does anime. I don't know if that's interesting to people or not.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
I've been watching the original Transformers series with my daughter.
She's awesome. I know Travis has been doing that with his daughters. They're really big into Transformers.
Yeah. So she was so excited to get to the episode in season 2 where you get to see Elita 1 on Cybertron, because she's super into the girl Transformers. So she loves RC. She loves Elita 1. She watched Transformers 1 and she loved seeing.
Don't let her watch Transformers the movie.
Oh, she's already seen it. It's her favorite movie.
She's already seen the death of Optimus Prime.
Oh yeah, but then like she watches the cartoon and he's alive again. So it doesn't matter. Okay. And then I did. So I swear I'll get caught up with Chad again. But I saw One Piece over here. I did watch season 1 of One Piece live action, and I thought it was really cool. It's part of the reason that I went back and started watching anime, to be honest. Is because I'm like,
so
I like
the people who were original One Piece fans are like telling me that they're not happy with the live action, but people who are watching it with fresh eyes are saying they enjoyed it. So I
mean, it makes sense. I would probably not be a fan if I was a fan of the original too. That's how it always
Speed
works.
Racer is probably the first anime that aired in the US. I'm saying yeah, you're probably right. But Robotech was like one of the first times they tried to I don't know. I watched a big documentary on it. They were talking about, there's so much of this great sci-fi stuff over here, and they really wanted to bring it over. So,
you got some real life sound going on there?
What's that?
You look like you had something going on there in real life.
Oh no, we got those. You probably got them too. It's the beetles that are breeding right now.
Yeah.
I got one of them crawling around on a curtain in here.
Yep, I gotcha. Lyle, speaking of local events, which that's a local, I don't know if that's a widespread thing, but it's definitely a Northwest thing. Did you feel any tremors this morning? Which, by the way, I guess probably that would be in my area too. I didn't.
What time was it? I don't know what time that was. I ended up at work at like 5 a.m. So I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't.
I don't know what time that happened. And then soon thereafter, I was driving a semi, so I wouldn't have felt anything.
Love One Piece manga, hate One Piece live action. One Piece anime is too much filler. Interesting. Yeah, so when it comes to manga, I'm probably less likely to read manga. Not just because of time reasons, because I'm trying to read so many comics and there's books I'm trying to read. And so like my reading time is like, boy, thinking about, I don't have a lot of reading time as it is.
Right.
So trying to add that in. I just wanted to kind of dovetail though, because I wanted to mention, so I'm watching all 3 shows you talked about: Invincible, Harley Quinn, and Severance. And I'm caught up on all those shows. I am also watching 1923 came back for season 2, and it inspired us to finish up Yellowstone because we never finished that. So we're on the last few episodes of that. My wife and I are watching both those shows, and we're watching that show on Hulu, Paradise, too.
Oh, is that? It looked kind of interesting.
Oh no, there's these. I cannot even remember it's like is it an emperor beetle? I can't even remember what they're called now.
I don't know. They're hard. Try as I might, one or two of them gets in every day, and then they sound like a freaking helicopter flying through the air when they go by.
Yeah. Let's see if I can figure out what they're called.
And then I'll be in the middle of a movie and all of a sudden I feel something on my arm and it's like they're just like, "Hey dude, what's up?" I'm like, "Are you serious?" And I just kind of cup them and take them and throw them out the front door. It's either that or they go for that last swim, down the toilet.
Well, and the problem is there's another type of I think these are like
there's two, right? There's
Japanese beetles or something.
The big
there's the stink bugs and then there's the beetle.
Yeah.
I think the stink bugs are still beetles.
One of each of them in here right now.
So the problem is, the stink bugs, which I believe based on this Google search are the brown marmorated stink bug. The problem is if you kill one, they attract more stink bugs.
And we had somebody at work get one inside of their safety glasses. Oh. And then when he went to take his glasses off, it panicked and and his eye swelled up.
Ooh, that's not good. I mean, they're the biggest thing you do with them is you kind of just vacuum them up.
Yeah,
that's if they're in your house or whatever. Obviously, if they're in your safety glasses, you don't have that benefit. Right. Not to laugh at that. And then there's another kind of, I can't remember what the name. I think it's like a Japanese beetle or something like that. They're a little bit skinnier, and they're more just like they're everywhere right now. There's more of those right now where I'm at than stink bugs. Stink bugs come a little bit later in spring usually for us here, but right. At least for me.
Yeah, we were talking about weirdest injuries on the job. One was stink bug, and another one was raccoon bite. There was a guy that was feeding the raccoons at work in the morning, and one of them got a little like, "Hey, I'm not getting my fair share."
You don't need to feed the trash pandas. They're not Rocket.
Yeah, funny stuff.
I'm officially not going to Emerald City Comic-Con.
I am also not doing that. I don't have any funds to do that right now. So, there goes one of those beetles.
I'm gearing up right now. Literally have brand new boxes around me and dividers and stuff. I'm getting ready for the show at Frankenstein on Saturday the 15th of this month, Lloyd Center Mall in Portland, Oregon. If you want to come say hi, I'll be co-hosting a booth with Dan's X-Men Comics and Qwerty Comics. We're going to share a couple tables and have a whole bunch of comic books and stuff, and I might bring some figures, like some boxed figures and stuff too, and some slabs, and those are comic books, but you know what I mean. I'll have all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm getting ready for that, and I've got too much other stuff going on. I do plan on going to both Washington State Summer Con and Rose City Comic Con this year again, so I'll be at both of those. Yeah, he's got serious dive bombing problems happening. Right. They're crossbreeding and making a master species. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, folks, this is the reason I don't watch anime, because I'm going to be living in one soon. So no worries there. I feel like speaking of things we watched, we got about 2/3 of the way through Baby Girl. I don't know if
I watched that a little while ago. That's a little rough to watch.
It's not very good so far. That's my opinion on it.
It's messed up.
Okay, so we made it, like I said, about 2/3 of the way through, and I kind of just was like, all right.
And I mean, I felt like at the end of watching it, it was good. There were parts that it was a good, I guess, good message for a movie like that. But it's kind of like the message is just being like, be honest with what you want with your partner and talk, versus being ashamed of whatever your kinks are.
Don't kink shame.
Right. I don't know, don't kink shame yourself.
The message to me is more, if you're going to make a movie like that, either spice it up or make it more intriguing.
Yeah.
I guess for those that don't know, by the way, it's a movie. Nicole Kidman's the main star. She's like a high-powered executive who is kind of bored in her sex life with her husband, who's played by Antonio Banderas, and basically gets kind of involved with a guy who's kind of like more of a dominant kind of guy and has an affair with him. That's kind of the sort of like grown up 50 Shades of Grey in a way. I mean, it's also very different than that, but yeah.
I mean, it gets better. The movie was entertaining, but I was at certain parts I was watching it, I'm like, somebody's gonna like walk by the window while I'm watching this and be like, what the hell are you watching?
Dude, so I live in a townhouse where like we have like a shared back courtyard with other residents. And, you know, like during the summer when you have the windows open or something like that, because it's really hot, you know, we don't have central air or anything like that. So like, you know, when it's really hot or humid, you want to open the windows. And then like we'd be watching like Game of Thrones or something, you know, or just whatever it is. Trying to think of another show that has like a lot of, you know, shows that just have that type of content. Part of me also goes like, like, do I even like, am I allowed to watch this? Like,
right? Yeah, I kind of felt weird about watching that movie. I was like,
yeah. Hey, what's up, Comic Tropes? How's it going? You just joined our new segment where we're talking about things we've been consuming in media, like movies, TV shows. You just got introduced to, if you want to rewind it all or rewatch, you just got introduced to my reaction to being introduced to anime, which might be interesting to you, I think. Maybe, I don't know. And no, I haven't tried Hellsing yet, but it is on my list. It's one of the ones that was recommended to me. Hellsing and Attack on Titan are both on my list from just multiple recommendations. Yes, this is Bronze After Dark, and I believe, did you get a haircut?
No, it was one of those, I washed my hair and can't do anything with it, you know. It's kind of
gotcha. Kind of
tied it back. It's just laying flat. It's just very dead, no body to it.
Just like me.
Whoa.
So we are at a point in our show before we move on to talking about other things, which, by the way, if anybody wants to talk about any of those shows we're watching, you know, we're talking about, you know, like I think especially like probably Invincible or Harley Quinn or I don't know. Severance is really awesome, but I don't know if people are into it.
Those are some great suggestions Trope says there.
Oh, cool. I'll get those in one second.
I've heard is great. I haven't watched it, but I've heard it's amazing.
I was just going to mention real fast. I wanted to remind you, like we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we are streaming to multiple networks. One of them is the EXP. If you want to go catch our producer, Jay, Hydra Asylum Comics, talking about new comic books coming out on New Comic Book Day, well, then tomorrow you can actually go watch an awesome show where they talk about comic books in a segment called Minute to Skim It. It's going to be on at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. And so that would be 4 p.m. Pacific. My math adds up. And you can go check out capsule reviews of comic books that are coming out. A show that I've always enjoyed. If I ever want to hear about new comic books for New Comic Book Day, highly recommend that one. So go check that out. Yes, I have seen Akira. I don't know what FLCL is. What is that?
FLCL, I think it's called Fooly Cooley, or I think it's how it's pronounced, something like Fooly Cooley. Okay. But it's the animation is amazing. It's
so I was just gonna say it's Hellsing, Cowboy Bebop, and there's one other we were just talking about. Oh yeah, nope, I had it a second ago. There's like 3 shows I have coming up: Hellsing, Cowboy Bebop, and there's one other one. But yeah, Full Metal Alchemist. That's the other one that people recommend all the time. So, but I have like a Crunchyroll subscription now, so I'll be checking out some of these. So FLCL is only 4 episodes, amazing animation, and it's a coming of age story. Oh, it sounds good. I'm sure your recommendations are spot on. Yeah, Akira and Ghost in the Shell and Death Note are the 3 that I've seen. And there's some others that are probably like, this is actually anime. Like if you stop and think about it, like, I don't know, is Voltron technically anime, like the original series?
Yeah, it's Star Blazers.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a few of them out there, but I've probably watched a few others that just sort of.
Well, somebody said Speed Racer was Astro Boy. Wasn't Astro Boy the original one?
That's a good point. I wonder if Astro Boy was the first one.
Tropes probably knows.
Wow, my brain wants to read that as Dandelion for some reason.
Dandadan.
Say that 5 times real fast.
Dandadan.
Dan, 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 dan. Oh my gosh.
Dan, 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 dan,
If
dan,
I heard
dan.
somebody say it, it would probably click. Trying to read it is giving me an aneurysm. But right on. I'll definitely add that to my list too. Mighty Atom was the first anime. Oh, right on. Confirmation. Sweet.
Okay, and then where do they fall? Like Speed Racer, Star Blazers,
and then Robotech. That probably in that order, right?
It's probably somewhere in that order.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess no one bid on it, but and if somebody mentioned in the chat, I probably would have talked about it for 4 hours. But I'll just say Severance is really freaking good.
I'm only like 4 episodes into it, and I was like, do I want to watch more of this or do I not want to watch more of this? And I'm like, I'll if you're saying it gets really good, I'm gonna keep going with it.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's highly worth watching. It's probably so I'm big into shows that have mystery / sci-fi elements, and this is probably my favorite show in that respect since Lost, which I was addicted to. So
cool.
Bob blah blah, is that a Bob blah blah joke? I love Arrested Development. And they were all in color, so over a decade later. Okay,
yep.
So yeah, just to save Comic Tropes a click, basically I started watching Neon Genesis Evangelion and Robotech were like the two like anime series that I actually dove into. And like when I say I watched Ghost in the Shell, I watched the film, not was it Standalone Complex was the anime or whatever? I don't know, but I'm sure everybody else in chat does. Apparently my other Helsing thing I'm trying to tell you about is not liked by YouTube. Weird. Oh, it's like a blocked term or something. Okay. Well, you can always tell me like on my Discord or through Slack or whatever. Okay, but that's
I popped in on one of Jay's shows this weekend and said
nice.
I was watching. They were talking about like casting rumors and stuff and everything. It was interesting.
So yeah, there's quite a few of those. That sounds like fun.
They were fan casting too. I think they were doing a little bit of fan casting and stuff too.
That's fun. I like doing that. I have to scroll past all our main topic stuff to get to our news. Oh, do we want to do some pickups real fast?
Oh, sure, yeah. You want to go first?
Sure. Actually, you know what? Let's kind of can we want to take some turns?
We take turns. Yeah, we can take turns.
I won't show off a ton of stuff. I'll do, kind of some of these are shout outs. Hey, what's up, Kamikaze?
Yay.
So shout out to Hoodat on Instagram and YouTube. Picked up a comic book from his short boxed event. He had like a short boxed, I can't remember what they call it, spotlight auction or whatever. Got a totally awesome Hulk. No one else bid on it, so I just picked it up for the starting bid. And he threw in Initial D as a freebie. That's really cool.
That's cool.
Really, this comic book, by the way, since Comic Tropes happens to be in here, as soon as I saw this reminds me of that car that Comic Tropes drew. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but he drew like a commissioned car.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I thought that was pretty neat.
So when you showed Totally Awesome Hulk, it made me think. Have you started watching Spider-Man yet?
I haven't. Oh, is there a connection?
Well, Amadeus show.
Okay. And then this is another short box auction.
Oh, hey, look at that.
And a 4/5.
Totally how Banshee looks, though. I mean,
yeah. The classic Banshee look we all know and love. But this presents really nicely for a 4/5, and it's better than both the copies I have. I have one copy that's like got staples in the front cover, and it's a total beater reader copy.
You have a dupe of that one? I don't have a copy yet, so I might.
And then I've got like a 2.0 or maybe like a 2.5 or something too. Okay. And then this is a 4/5.
Low grade's better than no grade.
Exactly. And then let's see. Gosh, I don't know if I can show these.
Do you need to take some tape and cover some things?
I would need like several Post-it notes. So if you know, Adam Hughes recently had a cherry cover that's technically
censored. Is it the shaving one?
Yes, it's technically censored, but I'm not going to show it. I got a couple foils of that.
That was it's blocked out with the blocks, like digital blocking, digital, and it's just like the hardest thing about shaving is getting those darn pixels or something.
The hardest part about shaving, all the little squares.
Right.
And then there's some soap bubbles over the other top bits, I guess is what we'll
Man.
call those, because we're adults.
Adam Hughes.
Yeah,
Woo!
Adam
You wanna
Hughes.
Look it up. Look up Adam Hughes Cherry if you want to see it.
An 86 Toyota Truno. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Hey, 86. There we go. That's awesome. And then here I'll flip you so you can show off a couple things.
So I don't know. Did I say anything about teaming up with
You did last week?
Okay. So I've teamed up with Future Press Collectibles, and they're selling some stuff that they turned me onto a selling platform called Encore, which is kind of cool. And they have giveaways where like you enter the giveaway and it's like you can just be like, oh, there's these giveaways. I like that. I like that. I like that. And then you don't even have to be there for the giveaway. And as proof, I won. Not that I'm big into Funko Pops, but there were Marvel ones, and they were kind of cool. It's like a Blacklight Sylvie from Loki.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I've actually got that. Oddly enough.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of cool. And a Blacklight Kate Bishop.
Oh, that's cool. I don't have that one. That's awesome.
Kate Bishop and Pizza Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she got Pizza Dog with her. So I thought that was kind of cool.
That is cool.
And then there's a little shop up in St. Helens, and they were having a $2 sale. And I had some credit there. So I popped in and got a few things. So Vampirella Zero, Joe Quesada.
Nice.
The Harris run, the first run of Vampirella from Harris. I thought it was kind of cool. I love Adam Hughes, and they had 2 copies of this cover in their thing. I was like, okay, so I think that's a great cover.
Yeah.
So 2 copies of that for $2 a piece.
That's a good deal.
This one was a score for $2.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of
they just had like, oh, Legionnaires, nobody cares about that. They threw it in the middle. I'm like, hey, somebody cares about it.
Oh, yeah. I have a really good friend that got me a DC Universe logo of that book.
Oh yeah, he's a.
His name starts with B, by the way.
What's that?
His name starts with B. It's a big B.
A big B. And this one, this is actually like I guess one of his first like really sexy covers. There's a theme. These are all like really sexy books, I guess. So it's a fairly valuable issue of Gen 13, and it was I think this is the most valuable book I got out of the $2 bin for. I think it's like $18 or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really shot up. Then I remember it was like $10, but I didn't know it got above that. I would have thought that Legionnaires so far, basically.
And then this one was, I love this cover. John Bolton.
Oh yeah.
Vamps.
Yeah. Yep. So I remember when I got back into comic collecting for the first time, when I started, that's when I picked up Walking Dead #7, and that's when I started reading the comic book month to month. That was the other book I almost chose.
And the only one that wasn't a sexy book, but Ultimate first Ultimate Reed Richards, who becomes the Maker, right?
Yeah.
So for $2, I was like, I can't go wrong for that. So
yeah, absolutely, that's awesome.
I was like, cool. I'll burn up some credit and pick up some books. So I had traded in Magic cards there a long time ago, so I had some credit hanging around.
Right on.
So yeah. And then I'll go back to you, and then I have a couple other things I can show.
Okay. So last bit of short box goodness. I don't even remember who appears in this. It was just a nice Thor comic book that I got for a ridiculously let's see, is that $129? Ridiculously good deal on a high grade Thor 129.
Nice. That's how far is it into the self-titled run? That's like what, 3 issues into the self-titled?
Yeah, very early. That sounds about right.
I think 126 is that like the first one?
Yeah, I think so. disagree on the non-sexiness.
Oh well, it is. Yeah, I mean it's. What's his name? Isn't it? Is it Greg Land?
Is it?
I don't know. He did a lot of the. I think I'm not sure. But
this
maybe.
is a really high grade for what it is. Doc Strange 175, first cover appearance of Clea.
That's cool.
Yeah,
this makes some good stuff, buddy.
Yeah, and I got stupid good deals on these. I don't know. I was just happened to tune into one of the short box auctions that was kind of closing out. I'm like, why is nobody bidding on this? It's just weird. And then
so when you say you got like good deals, are they like, what are we talking about, like price wise? You don't have to say.
I think the most I paid for any of these was like $12.
Holy cow, that's a great deal. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. I'd have to go back and double check.
Nice.
And I know this is a multiple key thing. It's first team appearance of the Undying Ones, but it's also the final issue. Doctor Strange.
And that cool evilish looking Doctor Strange costume.
Yeah, love that. Great stuff. And then I do have one more set of pickups, but I'm going to do that as kind of part of our second plug for another show on the EXP. So I'll keep that a little bit of a teaser for you.
Well, so I will just show I'll only show a few of these, but there's a video on my channel talking about doing this trade with Lettuce Comics. So I picked up a stack of Captain America of his doubles.
Holy cow.
So there's Annual 4 with, that totally looks like Magneto, right?
It does. Yep.
And then there's 101, which is basically Captain America #2, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. And then 114. And then it just jumps into a lot of the Bronze Age Kirby. Well, not even a lot of like 2 or 3 Bronze Age Kirby, and then a lot of just Bronze Age stuff. A lot with Zek covers and stuff, but none of the valuable things.
Well, they're awesome.
Yeah. I was kind of more, it was kind of more of a he was like, hey, I have all these dupes and I don't really know what to do with them. And I'm like, I like to facilitate things for a lot of people sometimes. I'm just like, hey, I'll take them and move them to somebody that needs them for something else. And eventually I'll find one thing that I need and then move their stuff to somebody else. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. So got a big stack. So he's gonna be making a video about all the stuff that he got from me, so you can check that out on Lettuce Comics.
Nice. It's way too many comics to keister, as Christopher Walken would say, where he keeps the watch in Pulp Fiction. So I'm gonna do our second little ad for another show on the EXP early, just because it's organic. We're working it in.
Right.
If you've been watching the show over the last few weeks, there's a new show on the EXP we talk about that's coming on Tuesday nights called Wonderland. Welcome to Wonderland. It takes place at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, so that'd be 5 p.m. Pacific. I actually tuned in last week and picked up some stuff. And one of the things I picked up, I got the new Green Lantern Dark. I got a couple covers for that. Just because they were throwing it out there, and I thought that'd be kind of a fun story to read. I haven't read it yet. But really I just kind of got those after I knew I was already going to be paying for shipping and getting some comics sent to me. So I got a couple keys that I've been looking for a while. First one, Tales of Teen Titans 44, and the first appearance of Dick Grayson as Nightwing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's an
underrated key, I believe.
Yeah. So I was pretty excited to have that. Actually, was the second book I got from them because I thought it would pair very nicely with my first appearance of the new Teen Titans.
So, that is awesome.
Yeah. It's kind of a beater. He had one really high grade, and then he had this one, and I'm like, give me the lower grade. Because I wasn't really expecting to pick that up, but so soon. But I definitely had it on my radar. So I definitely would give them thumbs up. They did fast shipping. That's Wonderland Comics. You can watch them tomorrow night on the EXP, like I said, at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, or 5 p.m. Pacific, depending on which time zone you're in. Go check those out tomorrow over on Wonderland Comics, and it's usually pretty awesome. That's nice to know. He cut me a good deal, but
well, now you know.
Yeah. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
As in you in the chat too. Okay, so there you go.
There you go. There you go. That explains it. Yeah, because I definitely seem to be really good. I haven't had any time to watch YouTube today, but I saw you interviewed Christopher Priest. How was it preparing and executing the interview? Great question. Yeah, so for those that don't know, I was going to talk about this at, kind of our plugs at the end. I'll say, hey, go watch my video I put up. Yeah, I interviewed Christopher Priest. He's been on Vampirella for a while, but they're relaunching #1 later this month with a new story. And so I interviewed him. I've been wanting to talk to him for a while. I didn't get a chance to talk to him about it in the interview, but he actually wrote Tyler Maine's comic. The guy who played Sabretooth and the wrestler and everything. He wrote his comic, The Last Spartan. And I was going to have to talk to him about that, and we just ran out of time because we had such a good conversation. But I actually, there's about 3 or 4 interviews I watched preparing for it. Comic Tropes actually was one of them because he popped up on the YouTubes. He interviewed him, I think, around this time last year, I want to say, about a Vampirella comic and some other stuff in his career. He has some great questions, kind of informed that. Honestly, like I basically just teed him up to talk about Vampirella in the beginning because I figured that's probably why he's here. He deserves a chance to promote his book. I think he gave everybody a great pitch on his story, his take on Vampirella, and kind of what's going on and what the story is so far, and then what his inspiration was for this story. It sounds really exciting. I'm pretty excited for it. And then we kind of just talked about his time in comic books and what he thinks has changed in comic books, and talked about some of the stuff he's done in the past, what he might have done differently if he could revisit it, things he never got a chance to work on. And we asked some great viewer questions too that I had roll in. So definitely go check that out if you're interested in Christopher Priest. I think he's a very underrated writer. I mean, he's been doing it. He's been an editor or writer since the 80s. He's done tons of titles for Marvel, tons of titles for DC, and has done a lot of independent stuff now. Chris was awesome in pointing this out. He was really responsible for a lot of the milestone stuff in the groundwork when that came out. He's just a really funny, interesting guy. From a writer, you kind of expect them to have the gift of gab. He definitely does. So yeah, very cool. He started at a very young age. Crom says his Robotusm DM is making him fall asleep. It might be my smooth voice. That really might be it, Crom.
Tones of Christopher.
Join us tonight on Slow Jams. But I hope you have a restful evening. Get some good rest, man. And thanks for tuning in for the beginning of the show.
Feel better, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's kind of it was a great interview. I really appreciate you asking that, Chris. I did ask him about Quantum and Woody. I'm glad you got a chance to get that question asked to him, and glad he gave a good answer for that too. He actually talked about it for quite a bit. He was pretty excited about that.
Welcome Tat Comics.
Yeah, welcome into the show. Thank you very much. I was going to kind of go scroll back up here and see if anybody else popped in.
I like his Daredevil icon. That's cool.
Perfect. Yeah, and we are going to get to that in a bit here.
It was tiny, but when you zoomed in on it, I was like, oh, it's TD. There we go.
That's so true. So many, I miss so many YouTube like avatars or whatever because they're so tiny until somebody highlights them.
Right.
Speaking of that, we're going to zoom through news because I want to get to our topic. So
there's some good news in there, though. I thought there was some interesting stuff.
We're not gonna rush through the important ones, but I do want to make sure that we kind of get to all of them before we get to our main topic, and I want to allow plenty of time for our topic. This was something that came up because we were just talking about this earlier with the Marvel special. This is some speculation that I was alluding to on what his story could be based on. This is what Bigby was talking about with the disguise that would happen. He shared a photo of Punisher 53, that'd be John Bernthal I'm speaking about, released in 1991 as part of the storyline called The Final Days. It followed the Kingpin as he set out to finally break Frank. After initially being forced to help the mobster, the Punisher was sent to jail, where he had a violent reunion with his old foe, Jigsaw. Frank is badly wounded, but manages to escape and then needs to wrestle with whether the only way to live is if he changes. You can probably see how elements from this would lend themselves well to a special presentation on Disney Plus. And Yeah, and also, they bring up a really good point. It could also just be a comic book he enjoyed while preparing for
Right.
Daredevil. And huge shout out to John Bernthal, who's not really a method guy, but he does his research. I remember when he was originally getting tapped to do Punisher in the first place, he very kind of famously talks about this in interviews. He went into comic shops and was like, what do I really need to read? Talking to the comic book shop owners, like, what do I really need to read to understand this character? Like, what's the real shit?
Right.
And he did a really good job on that. And frankly, Charlie Cox did the same thing or something very similar when he was getting ready for Daredevil. And I don't know. I think they kind of, I don't know if they started that, but maybe because of social media, those are the two actors I can really think of having done that for the first time. And you see a lot of actors go do that now when they get cast as a superhero. But I think it's cool, and it shows usually in those performances that's like, okay, you at least understand the character. Like, you don't approach this. I mean, sometimes that's just the writing, right? But sometimes it's like, this person isn't acting anything like this character at all. And that's definitely not the case for John Bernthal. I think he does a great Punisher. Maybe not the perfect Punisher, maybe not the definitive Punisher for a lot of people, because I know there's people that have different preferences. I think he does great. I think he does a great job especially with
I think he's a great Punisher. He's amazing. I love that video that I sent you of him with the gal who plays Karen Page.
Deborah Ann Woll.
I guess she's a big D&D player.
Yeah,
and she's explaining to him about Dungeons and Dragons, and he's like, wait, no, why wouldn't you just like max out everything and be like, she's like, because everything has to be in balance and you have to have a theme. And he's trying to understand. It was really interesting. It was fun.
I think she does like one of those, like, I'm gonna be out of my element here, but like Critical Role, or she does one of those kind of shows. I don't know what exactly it is, but I'm pretty sure I've seen clips of her discussing that stuff before.
I agree with Derek. Yeah, all of those guys, they are those characters.
Yeah. I'll kind of go through the quicker ones here. The next thing, this is kind of just cool. Toy Fair happened this weekend in New York, and so a lot of news came out of that. Some of it we'll discuss, some of it's just really cool, and we're not really super focused on toys. But I think this is pretty worth talking about. There's this Marvel Legends does kind of prop replicas, and they're doing this Doctor Doom mask, which is pretty cool and definitely timely, with all the Robert Downey Jr. casting and Doom coming and all that kind of stuff to the MCU. Pretty cool.
That is pretty neat. Cool.
They've done Iron Man masks and all that kind of stuff too. So not terribly surprising, but if you hadn't seen that and you're interested in it, I thought it might be kind of cool to show you. And then another really quick kind of just more of an update, something we followed before. This is a unfortunate bit of news, as we are not getting any X-Men 97 this year. We're most likely getting it in 2026, which is sad.
Right. I mean, I think they're dropping the ball, but
it really makes you wonder, to be honest. I think some of this is probably speculation. I should have called out the other news sources I was looking at there, but this is from CBR. I don't even know if they speculate on this, but I wonder how much of this has to do in reality with DeMaio leaving the show, or, well, not leaving the show, being forced to leave the show, or whatever you want to call it. It does make you wonder if that delayed things.
There's a lot of rumors about them going out and like recruiting comic fans to help them with the mythos, because they didn't really understand some of the stuff. They were like, what? What's going on?
I always kind of wonder about that stuff when you hear it from the outside, but
hey, so you were watching I'm gonna roll back to stuff we're watching. Baby Doll, that the guy that plays the young guy, they're rumoring him to be Cyclops. What do you think about
that? Again, I'm only 2/3 of the way through that movie, so maybe there's more of him. He doesn't really do much in that movie so far. He has a very quiet part for the first, at least half of the movie.
He gets louder as the movie goes.
Totally makes sense. Yeah, these are really good points. Although I will admit, I know this is controversial, and their script it could have been better, especially in the villain department. The Aaron Eckhart Punisher was pretty good. Or no, I'm sorry, Thomas Jane. I mix those guys up. I'm sorry, Thomas Jane, Tom Jane.
Yeah.
And also R.I.P. But Ray Winstone was also really good.
I liked that movie. A lot of people say like when he was. So you're talking about people studying the character. He totally, when he studied Punisher, he thought of him as a total psychopath.
Yeah, which I mean, accurate,
right?
In some ways, I like that interpretation of Punisher. Maybe more than the interpretation of where he's just like. In fact, we're going to talk about this later, so I think it's fine to talk about it right now a little bit. I feel like in the Frank Miller Daredevil run, especially that era and some of the comics that informed, when you see Punisher, it's usually like he has a different set of ethics, but he's completely just in what he's doing. You know, like it's almost like he's presented like a hero who just has a different philosophy, as opposed to a character that really is exploring the idea of what is a vigilante and how legal is it and how ethical is it, which I think that's the coolest part about Punisher, is kind of exploring those questions. Because
I have a whole lot on that when we get into the
a
lot on like
and I'm glad we're both of kind of a similar mind to that.
By the way, hi Karen, good to see you here.
Yeah, I was just going to get to Karen's comment here, but I wanted to kind of go through comic tropes. Yes, I did see the leaked MCU. Yep. There's one on there that is super surprising. If you're a
frequent drawn character by
if you're an X-Force fan, like modern X-Force, let's just say it's really surprising. That's confusing enough for people probably, unless you've seen it. And that's right, Brandon. Let's go Cyclops. I love that kind of attitude. And then hi Karen, thanks for dropping in. I love that Karen's Pages comes in here and drops the Karen Page knowledge, which is great. Thanks for confirming the. I was pretty sure she did some D&D stuff. As a DM, that's cool. Do you know? Does she have a series like on YouTube or somewhere where you can go watch? Or
I don't know. Like Karen may know.
That's what I'm asking her.
Yeah.
I figure she probably knows. Heard that they were going to cast Sydney Sweeney as Natsu, the Peach Momoko version of Cyclops from Ultimate X-Men. See, I'm going to take this in a different direction, Chris. Why don't they just cast Sydney Sweeney as Cyclops, Scott Summers? Sydney Sweeney, Scott Summers. You got the S and the S, the alliteration there.
Yeah,
just do it. I think
we'll have a male version of Emma Frost, or
yep, a male version of Jean Grey.
Jean Grey and Emmanuel Frost.
This show already has a built-in audience. They brought everyone but Elektra back. The original idea for the show recast Vanessa, and when they scrapped that idea, they brought the original Vanessa back. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Dolph was the best. Yeah. I don't know.
So there's a guy on YouTube that does CGI. He's gone and put Wolverine's mask on in the old X-Men movies, and
right, okay. I think I've seen that. Yeah,
He did Dolph, but he put the logo on Dolph's chest in the movie. It's really
Dolph was robbed. Like that's like Hugh Jackman before Deadpool and Wolverine not getting the mask or the costume even. And Dolph not getting the skull. Those, I mean, like, come on, they were robbed.
Right.
Also, Venom, even though he's 99% CGI, I'm sure Tom Hardy's Venom not getting the symbiote logo, the Spider-Man logo.
Right. That's
Yeah. Wait a minute. Are you telling me that people just go and lie on the internet, Chris? Now I can't trust anything you say.
I did see an interview though with the guy who directed the Dolph movie. He said that he's like, I was so full of myself back in the day, and I don't know why I did that. He's like, I totally missed an opportunity to tap into a major part of pop culture, but I was so like against, like I don't want it to be like what you see in the comics. I was like, why not?
I hate that explanation. I'm never down. Like, well, we already saw the comics. Like, you don't need to see that again. But that's what made it good. Let's do it again.
Right.
Let's see it. I know it needs to change a little bit, but let's see it. Moving on to another quick couple stories here. These could be a little bit quicker, but Supergirl is getting a new costume and a new comic from former TMNT writer Sophie Campbell. This comes to us from Newsarama or Newsarama, but it's gamesradar.com. So kind of getting a little bit of a fresh reboot here. I know a lot of people.
Who's the artist on that? I kind of like that.
That is a great question.
That's very
scanning. Oh, it's Sophie Campbell. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was gonna say I know a lot of people are fans of Sophie Campbell's TMNT run.
Jay Lee.
Yeah, that's an awesome cover. I kept scrolling back up to that. I was trying to see if there's anything else down here, but it's gonna be out May 14th. And Crypto, the Last Dog of Krypton, will follow on June 18th.
So that's the image for the Jay Lee one. Is the Crypto?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
With that.
Yeah, that's beautiful artwork. That's Sophie Campbell artwork.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's great. And I know a lot of people are fans. And I'm bringing this up because we talked about the Power Girl cancellation and how there'd be a follow-up Supergirl series. So I figured this was a nice little bow on that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I'm always excited to see new iterations of both of those characters personally.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then how is Awesome Sauce not here? So I've had conversations with Awesome Sauce before, and I know this is something that is near and dear to his heart. And
right,
I was saving it because I was hoping he'd pop in, but you got to get through the news.
He'll comment. Awesome Sauce. You got a comment in the comments on the rewind.
So Awesome Sauce is a huge Cold Slither fan, and if you're not familiar with Cold Slither is basically the hair metal band that Cobra creates to carry like hypnotic messages out to their
take
audience.
Over the world through MTV.
Yeah. Yep. And so we're getting this awesome kind of set of figures. There's the next button. Okay, so there's the kind of all the figures at once that we're gonna get in this this set of figures from Hasbro. So yeah, you got the 4 Dreadnoks dressed up in their full regalia here. What I'm curious about is this mean we're gonna get the Average Joe band, which was at the very end when inevitably G.I. Joe defeats Cobra, we get the Average Joe band. I would love to see that there's the moment where the ladies infiltrate as groupies. They infiltrate the backstage. I'd love to see that as a follow-up set. There's so many things that based on this that are awesome. But this reminds me, we're getting the mass device figures in classified for G.I. Joe, which is awesome.
They're gonna make the mass device.
They haven't. So as far as I know, they haven't actually shown or leaked the mass device, but they've shown different figures that are coming out with the different elements for the mass device.
That's cool.
One of them being Snake Eyes and the Polar Bear set, which looks really like a really good deluxe.
Are you going to get the Eskimo guy, the blind Eskimo?
They didn't show him yet.
Okay, I liked his character. He was a cool character.
Okay, so a bunch of classifieds are going to go up for pre-order at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Yeah, like they announced. This is coming out of Toy Fair pretty much. They showed Footloose and they showed a Frag Viper. I'm just trying to go off memory here. They showed for the mass device, they showed a Cobra Diver and a G.I. Joe Diver set, which are like generic figures. Bunch of stuff. They showed the snake armor, like the big armored,
I saw that. I saw somebody showing how it opened up and how you could actually put a figure in it and everything. Yeah, that cool. Miniseries had so many things. I wanted the submarine for Seal's submarine.
Yeah,
the little sea sleds that Cobra had, those were super cool. Varanus' little diving bell thing.
Yep. I think all that small vehicle stuff, they're going to probably eventually do it because there's only so many large vehicles. Like they'll keep doing them, but people will get burnt out on it and they won't have room or money for most of that stuff. The smaller stuff, they're definitely going to have more ability to do. Chris pointed out that he wants Dr. Venom, Quinn, Billy, the October Guard, Energon Universe redesigns. I have to point out that they are doing a box set of Void Rivals Jetfire with the 2 aliens from Void Rivals, the 2 main characters. So that we are getting Energon Universe Void Rivals figures, which is really cool, from Hasbro.
That's cool.
Yeah. But yeah, especially Quinn. Quinn's probably the one that I would be the most excited for in this. October Guard I would be extremely excited for, but it's just they'd have to kind of change the narrative, I think, right now. Or maybe not. I don't know. Things are weird with that right now.
Well, they just go they can just go retro, right? I mean, you're just talking about stuff that came out in old comics.
Well, but that's the thing is, there's already like they won't do Hooded Cobra Commander. Like they just avoid any of that kind of stuff that could be seen as problematic. Yes, the Voider. Yeah, they're O-ring. That's a good point. That is a good point. Tomorrow is Mass Device, Snake Eyes, Breakers. The other, they're doing like a Breaker without the motorcycle. They had him with a Ram motorcycle. This is a slightly different version. Retro Flint, Retro Cover Girl. I am all over the Retro Cover Girl and Retro Steel Viper. Interesting. I don't remember seeing that one. I know they're doing a Retro Viper.
That Cover Girl figure didn't do justice to the character.
The new one is ridiculously awesome compared to that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a very good. I wonder if actually.
And yes, that is the Dreadnoks and Zartan in a band.
Let's see if I can find a picture of that real fast. If I can't, then so be it. But there's a website.
Oh, he said autocorrect. It was Televiper, not Steel Viper.
Oh, the Retro Televiper. Yeah, that makes sense. I've got the Trouble Bubble one up here, which to me that's good enough. But I know Chris is buying everything. Okay, so this has it. It's kind of small, but there's the Retro Flint in the middle, the Televiper on the right, and then that's the Retro Cover Girl. Let's see if I can zoom in here a little bit. I'm sure there's a lot better pictures out there, but it's much better.
Is that Flint?
Yeah, Retro Flint.
And his face doesn't look right.
In the card art?
Yeah.
Dude, I got in a fight with somebody on Twitter whether or not this hand is AI because they say it has 6 fingers. And I'm like, no, there's just like a reflection on it that makes it look like his pinky fingers like
it looks like Tunnel Rat's face. It doesn't look like Flint's face.
Yeah, the card art on a couple of these is not good. These I think actually Cover Girl and Televiper from where they look fine, but
yeah.
There are great. Oh yeah, they're doing a Firefighter. They've been doing some real military figures.
Like, I mean, Infinity barbecue. What?
Yes, there's new barbecue. There's the Cover Girl, Flint, Televiper. I guess I should go for out of package shots. But yeah, this Cover Girl. I mean, there's the debate whether or not she's blonde or like a auburn kind of hair color. So depending on which side you fall on,
kind of a strawberry blonde originally, I think, but then they kind of made her more.
They went back and forth. Literally, I think in one episode they do both types of.
She was originally supposed to be Brooke Shields, wasn't she?
I think so. That's what I remember. I don't know if that's apocryphal, but that's what I always heard.
But they lost that. They were going through the licensing and they didn't. Also, what was it? The Rambo was originally going to be a Joe, and then he came out with his own toy line. So,
yeah, yep, and that's why they did. There's is he called Big Boa? It was supposed to be Balboa.
Yeah.
But they changed it to Big Boa. I'm sorry. For some reason I figured there was another picture. Yeah, so there is actually they did a Blowtorch figure. They got announced. It's not. I don't think that's one of the ones that's going up for pre-order, but they did announce one.
Blowtorch, not barbecue.
Barbecue's already out. In fact, actually, I have a Slaughter's Marauders version of barbecue right up here. But they did
Rocky, not Rambo. That's right. Okay, Rocky, not Rambo.
Yeah, Balboa. Anyways, hey, there's lots of good stuff coming out for G.I. Joe that'll break everybody's walls.
For those of you that don't care about G.I. Joe, we apologize.
I don't know what you're doing.
Kind of nuts for
it. We had a whole episode on this. So here's our last big news story. that by the way, I apologize if I'm kind of springing this one on you, Bigby, because I knew we were going to talk about this, but I forgot to put something in our chat where we talk about the stuff.
Good. I roll with it.
This is kind of the last big piece of news coming out of Toy Fair that I caught anyway. I do want to point out we got our faithful viewer here, Chris from Comic Tropes. You can go check out Comic Tropes After Dark, where he does a show on Mondays before our show called The Weekly Spinner Rack. He covers a lot of news. He actually casts a pretty wide net and covers more news stories than we usually do. If you want to go see, I'm sure he covered plenty of stuff we didn't get to. But oh no, is this behind a paywall? Basically, the gist of this story here is that McFarlane's been making the DC Multiverse McFarlane figures for a while now, for a few years. It originally launched with a Batman, a Superman, a Harley Quinn, and then they've been wildly successful. They're doing a lot of chase figures that are called Platinums that people are really excited about, although they can be frustrating if you're trying to collect them. I actually have a Platinum Power Girl down here that I could show off real fast to show people what that looks like. Just gonna dig it out. So what are we talking about? We're talking about these. So that little logo right there, that little McFarlane Spawn Platinum is what you look for if you're looking for Platinums. The regular version of this figure is kind of that's some Nakayama art back there, but it's the regular version's her classic costume, and then this is kind of that new series version of her, which is the chase figure. So
gotcha.
I've been grabbing quite a few of the McFarlane figures, not all of them, not a completionist. The ones I really like, I grab. I've got a bunch of there's like the Batman Hush statue. There's the Jim Lee, that's the Batman McFarlane statue from 423. That's the Superman Hush statue. I've got corresponding figures and my eternal hunt of trying to find the Wonder Woman figure. I've got the Jim Lee Wonder Woman statue is right in the middle there. You can't see it, but that's what it is. I like a lot of the figures they come out with. They're really awesome. But DC is losing the license, McFarlane is losing the license. And now that means this series is on a ticking time clock. Ticking clock. So
counting down.
Yeah, we're counting down to the end because Mattel, who previously was doing the DC action figures, is getting the license back. And people are pretty mixed on that. Some people, I mentioned those, and this is why I explained it. I mentioned those Platinum chase figures. Some people are fed up with that, including some retailers, because a lot of people order them hoping to get the chase figures. If they don't get the chase figures, they return the regular figures, hopefully unopened. But unfortunately, a lot of people open them and swap out desirable parts and pieces, and that's really disgusting that happens. But terrible. It does happen. But yeah, so I think I'm trying to remember what the deadline is here, trying to find it in the article. But I think it's at the end of next year, I want to say. Trying to get to where it shows that without reading the whole article in front of you guys. But yeah, basically they have about a year left, and then it'll wrap up. One of the most popular videos I ever did was actually talking about this series, because I talked about how Todd McFarlane was quoted as saying that girl action figures don't sell, and there was a lot of calls for female action figures in this line, and they weren't producing very many of them, even though one of the first figures was Harley Quinn in like her classic, DC animated kind of suit, although it was a comic book style figure. And scale has been ridiculously off, as another gripe people have. Like that Harley Quinn figure was like 7.5 inches tall, which made her taller than Batman or Superman. So there's some really weird stuff that happens. But yeah, there was a really kind of big call for more female figures. It must have worked, because that Wonder Woman figure I was talking about earlier sold out immediately. Everyone wanted it. It goes for like $150 on the aftermarket now if you try to find it. And it's, we're talking like these are like $25 figures, brand new usually. I know the Power Girl sold out. Pre-orders for that sold out pretty much instantly. I found that one randomly at a Walmart, and I have a regular version coming from Best Buy of all places, which they do some pre-orders on toys. Hopefully I get that soon. But anyways, yeah, it's been hard to collect some of these figures. I think that's a lot of people's frustration. But Mattel had terrible face sculpts, questionable plastic quality. So there's really, I don't know if people are winners or losers.
For more of a posable figure. McFarlane's figures are almost statues. I mean,
the articulation has gotten better, but like the hips and thighs and stuff, like there's not usually a thigh cut, which kind of limits articulation, and the hips aren't like drop hips that some modern figures have, so they can like kick high and that kind of stuff. But they are more articulated than, like, he has a line of essentially PVC statues out now, which those are popular. He's even does those for Marvel, for example. But he's kind of notorious for that. Like, in the history of McFarlane figures, is they might have 1 or 2 points of articulation. They've gotten better, but they're also not as good as, like, Marvel Legends or Mafex or some of the other figures that are out there that are kind of popular. Some of those are imports, but
I always thought his the McFarlane toy stuff was beautiful, but like I said, it was more of like a plastic statue.
Yeah. That traditionally, that's kind of what he's known about. I should have thought to say this on my show, but maybe Mattel can do a bigger scale distribution as DC gets back into making movies. Like, maybe McFarlane couldn't mass produce as many. And so I think you're kind of onto something, Chris, because I think the part of this ties into the fact that McFarlane's distribution, there's a really good channel, Nerdzoic. He started out as a toy review YouTuber, and he launched an online toy store. And so he went into kind of like his frustrations with DC McFarlane distribution. And he put all the cards on the table. He said, this is the kind of the struggle I've went through. This was an on again, off again thing. He met with a rep at one point. They had a great relationship set up. He's like, awesome, I want to order these figures from you, instead of like trying to buy them on the aftermarket to sell on his store. And he had this whole line set up, and he met all the qualifications, and then he never heard from them. And he had to like basically hound McFarlane to buy their toys to sell. So I do think there is something to be said for, I think they have big deals with like Target and Amazon and that kind of stuff for exclusives, but they're not really hitting the other distribution channels as well. Like, I know GameStop, Target are their kind of big two, I feel like. And then I feel like Amazon and Best Buy kind of get what's left. And then I think a lot of the other stores kind of just struggle to stock them, which is unfortunate. Yes, exactly. Leonard has a great point here, which is there's probably approximately 400 Batmans in his line, and then probably like 300 Supermans. And I'm probably only slightly exaggerating. And some of those are really great, but like there's probably 20-25 versions of the Christopher Nolan Batman. There's probably like 10 or 15 versions of the Michael Keaton Batman, and there's probably 100 different comic book Batman. And some of them are, you have like a Tech 27 original appearance of Batman. That's awesome. That's very different than a modern Batman. You have Nightfall Batman, which is very different than both of those versions. But at a certain point, it's like, how many? I understand Batman sells, but when you start doing like Hugo Strange Batman, I don't know how well that's selling in a Target, but that's what he sells. He also includes weird ones like Ambush. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is what sells. And yes, there are some. I feel like that's the funniest part about this is the series was finally starting to open up and get more, like, we were getting things like Blue Beetle, and we were getting things like Booster Gold, and we were getting kind of more characters that fans are going to enjoy. Ambush Bug, that kind of stuff. Sergeant Rock, these kinds of characters. But yeah,
well, maybe they'll push out a whole bunch in the last year that they have.
That's the hope. I mean, because like we haven't gotten a Zatanna. We haven't gotten. I don't think they've done a Raven.
Big one.
Yeah, some really popular characters. Guy Gunner with Sinestro Ring. That's yeah. I will say the Green Lantern figures, because of he did a really good job with the constructs. All the Lantern figures, I feel like the ones that came with accessories, they did a really good job with those. Shout out on those. Anyways, it's kind of one of those things. Either people that are Mattel fans are probably happy. people that are McFarlane fans are probably a little pissed. I'm sure it puts a dent in McFarlane Toys, because this, I think, had to be by far their biggest endeavor going on right now. So where's Vibe? Where's Gypsy? Where is Space Cabbie? You're asking the real questions.
The hard questions.
The hard questions. Hard plastic questions. So I think that's about it for news. I did have the whole Kathleen Kennedy thing on here at one point that we were going to talk about, but there's been some, so the deal is that Kathleen Kennedy, it was reported she's stepping down from Lucasfilm and retiring, and now she's saying she's not retiring, although it sounds like she is stepping down from Lucasfilm. The real conversation there was who's going to take over Lucasfilm, and there's some definite short list people there. And frankly, though, it's some of the most toxic people on the internet reporting and rejoicing about it, and it's kind of like understandable on one hand, because some Star Wars stuff has not been great. On the other hand, some of the Star Wars stuff that she's responsible for has been amazing, or that she was at the helm for, at least. Star Wars Rebels, Rogue One, first couple seasons, The Mandalorian, that kind of stuff. Like, she's responsible for that stuff just as much as she was responsible for the sequel trilogy. And I don't know, internet's a weird place when it comes to people's downfall, or that kind of stuff.
I bet people are really rooting for Favreau to take it over.
A lot of people are rooting for Favreau. Filoni is another person, but I mean, also it's a very administrative role compared to creative in a lot of ways. So I don't know. Maybe there's been talk of Kevin Feige going and taking it over too. So there, I guess we talked about it without talking about it. The problem is it's not cemented as far as
nothing concrete about it. There's a lot of rumors, a lot of swirling dust, and we haven't had it settle yet to actually get a clear picture. Exactly.
So folks, we are going to get into our main topic here, but I do have one more show I want to talk about happening over on the EXP, which, by the way, I've mentioned it a couple times. I want to reiterate this. You can watch Bronze Age Nerds YouTube channel. That's me. I'm not talking about myself in the third person, but I got to say the name of the channel. You could watch on Bigby McFly's channel. You could go tune in over there. You may be watching over there right now. You could also be watching over on the EXP, which has a whole host of amazing shows over there. The last one I'm going to talk about is the last show they have coming on tomorrow night, and that is Kicking It with Henri. That's Henri Compin, who's a comic book creator as well as a comic book seller. He does a claim sale show over there on Tuesday nights at 10 Eastern, 9 Central, 7 Pacific. Great guy. I've told you before, I've bought from him, and he's a trusted seller in my book. So definitely go check out his show if you want to pick up some good deals. So we're going to get into our main topic tonight, which is kind of the best Daredevil moments and stories, is kind of what I would kind of call what is the quintessential Daredevil experience. Now that we've probably bored away most people that were here for that conversation with topics about toys and G.I. Joe and all this fun stuff, let's get
toys, G.I. Joe movies, anime. Now we're getting to Joe.
Hey, what's up, Christina? Welcome to the show.
Christina.
As I like to call her, the most patient person on YouTube. We appreciate that, Christina. I swear I'm still getting to that stuff. But so I will tell you, I know you're going to talk about some stuff. I did bring some visual aids, but Bigby here is more versed on this topic than I am by far. I love Daredevil, but I'm more of a
casual Daredevil fan,
opportunity reader of Daredevil. Yeah, and I've read some of the classics for sure. Mm-hmm. Some of the modern stuff, but I have a feeling that Bigby's.
Well, I'll say, and to be fair, I'm not completely up on all the newer stuff.
Yeah,
where they've introduced a lot of the characters that have appeared in the show, the detective that appears in the show, and a lot of that has been done in there. But I'm kind of loosely aware of what happens in those storylines, and I'm sure Chris. Well, we can always be corrected by him,
or anybody in chat for that matter.
Yeah, anybody in the chat who knows better than us.
But it's important to point out that we love Daredevil.
Yeah, no, we do love us some Daredevil. So my first, so what did you have first for you? You have some visual aids? Are you going to be popping up as we're talking, or
I'll pop them as we're talking. So Brandon kind of hey, what's up, No Good? Brandon kind of this is kind of where I'm at with this. I will fully cop to some of my favorite Daredevil moments having taken place on big and small screens.
Right.
And this is kind of, when we say moments, I was very specific not to say comic book storylines, because, and this is something right from the concept of the show, which was Bigby's idea. It's a very important topic to talk about with Daredevil Born Again premiering in a couple days too, by the way. So timely and all that stuff. It's one of those things where I think some of those moments are what got me into Daredevil more as a concept. And I'll even say, this is like saying you like Nickelback or something like that in these days, but people remember Nickelback sold a lot of albums. I liked the Ben Affleck, Jennifer Garner Daredevil movie. I'm not saying it's a great film. I'm not saying it's like the best interpretation of Daredevil. But I thought parts of it were cool. Expectations for superhero films, especially at the time, were much different.
Was it Colin
Farrell?
Colin Farrell as Bullseye was amazing.
Yeah, if he had a more like comic book look, even if he didn't wear a mask, if he just wore the costume with like he'd almost kind of look like Havoc probably with the bullseye on it or whatever, that would have been. I mean, I can understand maybe they didn't want to hide Colin Farrell's face or something. The tattoo is
like carved into his head.
Yeah, I see a tattoo. It wasn't really a tattoo. It was like a scarring. Yeah. But the scene on the airplane where he just casually flicks the olive, whatever, with the toothpick or whatever, into the lady who's bothering him. It actually kind of oddly captures Bullseye in a good way. And I think the fight at the playground is dumb but fun. I will say the director's cut of Daredevil is much better, the Ben Affleck movie. But yeah, that's kind of the first moment I would talk about, and then we can talk about stuff with the Netflix series. I don't know how you want to weave that in, but and then
we can talk about Netflix stuff for sure. Like, I mean, it definitely captures a lot of the main moments in the comic fairly faithfully. And like you said, some of my favorite parts of those Netflix shows are the hallway fight scenes. Like every season there's a great hallway fight scene.
Yeah. So. And even referenced in She-Hulk. He makes a joke about it before they go down and start beating up the people in the warehouse.
Well, they do that. He does the hallway, and then she comes through right with the sonic clap thing.
Yeah. Yep. No, I'm not up to date on the last few runs of Daredevil, even though I love the character. Yeah, I've read some of the Zdarsky run, especially the stuff with Elektra as Daredevil, which I have here to show. But and I think that was really fun. That's one of the things I would talk about as being really, really cool with the character. More the character of Elektra than Daredevil, obviously, but I mean Daredevil as a mantle, if you want to call it that. But yeah, the TV show, like the choreography on the fights. So I just said I thought the Ben Affleck, Jennifer Garner, Daredevil was okay. Fun for the time. By the same token, the Netflix Daredevil show is probably one of the best turnarounds or redemptions of a show for a more comic accurate, cinematic, showing how to translate a Marvel character to the screen, whether it's Netflix or the big screen. Probably one of the best jobs of that ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Capturing the grittiness, capturing some of the darkness, capturing he's just a guy. Yeah, he has like these special senses, but he gets beat up regularly. It's not like he has a healing factor or he can have super punches or fly or speed or anything like that. That's amazing to me, like how well they did with that. But what they really got right,
great job, like capturing the essence of that character.
Yeah,
and where he's gotten those things from his father, about always getting back up, and then also like all the multifaceted layers of like the guilt and the all the things that make Matt Murdock who he is. It's like they did an amazing job.
And really that ties into probably the best thing it did, which is Karen and Foggy having like a supporting cast around him, Elektra, Stick even to a certain degree, Punisher to a certain degree, having those characters, even if they're not
Ben Urich. I mean,
yep, Yep, exactly. Even if they're not perfect, they are perfectly filling the roles that those characters need to fill for Matt Murdock. And it actually feels totally correct. And that's before you even get to how well Vincent D'Onofrio represented Kingpin.
Yeah,
and
when he kills Ben, he's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, have a good night. Thanks for coming in and watching part of the show. We appreciate it.
Yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio is amazing. So let's roll from Vincent D'Onofrio and his portrayal of Kingpin into one of the first questions I have, which I put some pictures together.
Yeah.
Kingpin, is he more of a, in your book, is he a Spider-Man villain or is he a Daredevil villain? I mean, he's first originally appeared in Spidey.
Spider-Man. Yeah.
And
so this is, I'm going to wait. I'm going to meander for a second because I really want the audience to think about that question.
Okay.
And I want to see their answers kind of start to roll in.
Yeah.
I have an easy automatic answer for this question, but I really want the audience to mull it over, because if I just immediately blurt out my answer,
we don't want to steamroller what their thoughts are. So that's true. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, originally he was a Spidey villain. Yeah. We didn't really see him taking on Daredevil much later in the run, into the Frank Miller run. But there's an argument to be made, like, whose villain is he? Whose arch nemesis is he? I mean,
so for my answer for that is, I firmly think it doesn't matter. And
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because he's both. Because the beauty of Marvel is, especially when it comes to New York and street level heroes. And when I say street level heroes, I mean, in my head, Daredevil is the epitome of a street level hero. He is absolutely what I think of. Now, I think of Spider-Man as kind of the royalty of a street level hero who can rise up and be an Avenger. He can rise up to be, he can fight in Secret Wars. But day to day, Spider-Man swings around New York and can stop a mugger, on Fifth Avenue just as easily as he can, beat a Coney Island dog or whatever on a subway overpass or something like that, or a light rail overpass. So I think of him as being kind of the epitome of that. My point is that it makes sense then that the villains of New York would cross paths with all these characters that are in kind of that sphere.
Right.
Now, if you're just going to say, like, to tell a certain story where you have to pick the villains that go with characters, like something like, for poetic justice reasons or whatever, if you have to twist my arm and get an answer on me, I'm going to say that Kingpin is a Spider-Man villain. Because to me, Bullseye is the direct foil for Daredevil. And
I actually just had the thought that Kingpin may be even more of a nemesis for Punisher.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I would agree with that. And again, I'm saying all that is through the lens of, like, I'm saying it doesn't really matter in some ways to me.
Right.
But I also understand why it does matter to a lot of people. And for me, it's like, I guess I would say he's a Spider-Man villain mostly. But the other problem is, and this is, I think, why he becomes a Daredevil villain in a lot of people's minds, Spider-Man has one of the greatest rogues galleries of any character. And especially, I always loved the J. Michael Straczynski totem idea that they explore. You got Rhino, Scorpion, Dr. Octopus, Puma, there's Vulture, all these great ones. And when you get out of those, you've got another order of villains. You've got Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, Demo Goblin. You've got Demo Goblin. You've got Venom, Carnage. You just kind of keep going and going and going.
He's got an amazing rogues gallery.
Yeah. And I think it rivals characters like Batman or Flash or some of these other characters that have really good rogues galleries.
I would almost say, like, you look at it like when Spidey goes up against Kingpin, it's not like life or death. When Daredevil goes up against Kingpin, he's in a fight for his life. Like Kingpin can literally end him easily.
Yes.
But Spider-Man, it's not really that much of a a threat. So
but I will say, since we're talking about that, I gotta get to my first visual aid here, which is all this kind of, we're talking about appearing late in the run.
Right.
So that's the first time that Kingpin faces off against Daredevil in the Daredevil run, and that's in issue 170. Yeah, 170. So pretty late in the run. You think about
I think in that Miller run that he's really discovering the essence of Daredevil that a lot of people missed.
Yes.
And that made Daredevil struggle to the point where they were thinking about canceling him at one point,
Yeah, I mean, Frank Miller, for all the things, this is kind of when we talk about stuff about Frank Miller, like we talked about with that Black Cat cover we were talking about the other week.
His current art status.
His current art, all that kind of stuff. And Chris bringing in the killer point that Klaus Janson probably saved a lot of Frank Miller art, that kind of stuff too, which I think is all valid. But Frank Miller's writing when it comes to Daredevil is so important. And I think some of the visual storytelling too, with especially the you're talking about Daredevil might be the street level hero, but he works at night. He's kind of, in a lot of ways, I know everyone wants to say Moon Knight is Marvel's Batman. In a lot of ways, Daredevil's kind of Marvel's Batman, as far as in terms of working at night in a Hell's Kitchen, Gotham. There's some parallels there.
Strikes out of the shadows, and people, the villains don't see him coming. There's a lot of that to it.
Certainly.
And the rumors of the devil of Hell's Kitchen.
Exactly.
So.
And I think Frank Miller, obviously, what does Frank Miller know? Frank Miller knows the Dark Knight. He knows Daredevil. He knows both those characters, and I think there's a lot of parallels there that do happen for sure. So
we got some responses from people in the chat about the Kingpin being
Spider-Man cartoons where I first saw him. So for me, he's a Spider-Man villain, but really he's every hero's villain. Yeah. And I mean, what is it? It's Spider-Man 49 and 50 where he first appears, right? Those are
50 and 51.
50 and 51. Oh, yeah. 49 is the other classic cover. Definitely a Daredevil villain. Spider-Man had so many failed takes on Kingpin. Crime Master and others that never worked. Kingpin did, but wasn't needed in Spidey.
Right.
Very valid. No Good says, I've always associated him more as a DD villain. My Spidey reading is lacking, though. Fair enough. And I think that's, the common trend we're going to see with a lot of people is it depends on where you first encounter him, probably makes a huge impression, or, it's who you most associate him with. Except for when Jason Aaron made him a god. That one time.
Yeah, they did that in, what was that? What was that crossover?
Is that the World Break? What?
This is the one where we had the first appearance of all those characters that were working with Shang-Chi. You had
oh
gosh, Agents of Atlas first appeared during it. Can't think of the name of the crossover, but yeah, he became a god.
Too. I wasn't reading comics.
Punisher became a god too in that storyline.
Daredevil's moral opposite is a man with really long legs. By the way, while we're talking about the Daredevil Netflix show, even though we're not anymore, I will say, so it's been a while. I think I only watched it when it came out, and then I rewatched it before season 3. I rewatched seasons 1 and 2, so I've really only seen most of it twice. My memory seems to be, did they not really touch on the Catholic stuff as much? Like, that kind of played down?
3 really got really heavy into it because season 3 takes place right after the Defenders show.
Right.
He's lost Elektra for a second time. And he's ready to be dead. He doesn't want to live anymore. And
he hangs out with his mom a bit too, right?
He can't control his powers, and he can't, the radar sense isn't working anymore. Yeah. He's has a crisis of faith. He can't use it, and he's trying to fight people.
Okay. This is just my memory not being great here. Frank Miller is one of the greats. I personally avoid his current work. Good for him. He's still drawing in spite of physical hurdles, but I don't consider it. Also, people who dunk on him now. Yeah, it's
Right.
one of those things for me where it's like, I'm not going to go so far as to defend his current art, but I also am not going to go so far as to rip on it. To me, it's kind of like, it's just one of those things where it's just the reality of the situation with where he's at, you know. And I think if you do look back at some of his older art, there's plenty of examples where it looks similar, not as bad, but similar.
Like Chris was saying, I think we owe a lot of the recovery of Frank's art to Klaus Janson.
Yeah. This is a really good point. Something I feel with a lot of characters, and to me, Doctor Doom is probably the most interesting one on this list in some ways. But Red Skull, Loki, Doctor Doom, they expand beyond their main enemy. Doctor Doom is a fascinating one to me because I know as much as he is the quintessential Fantastic Four villain in a lot of ways, and it makes a lot of sense why he would be, he's much more to me like the big bad of the human side of the Marvel universe, essentially.
Right. It's kind of what if Batman was bad?
Yeah, in a lot lot yeah. It's or what if Reed Richards was evil, you know, or something like that. And had resources,
right?
That Reed never had. But yeah. So I feel like did you want to name? So did we? I think we kind of did the Wilson Fisk question. As much
did you want to show some of those covers, or?
Well, I mean, you know, this is
one. Show the actual ones that you have physically.
I can do both.
However you choose, it's up to you, sir.
So I showed the first appearance of Kingpin.
We got the first cover appearance,
in Daredevil.
And then we got the first cover appearance in Spidey.
Oh, do you want me to show that? I mean,
yeah, you can show that one.
Okay.
There he is.
I could probably do that to kind of make it a little bit more. There we go. So ASM 49, or sorry, ASM 50. I keep wanting to say 49 myself. I'm sorry about that.
50 is the first appearance. 51's his first cover appearance. So,
yeah.
Yep.
It does have a negative effect over here. Sorry, just trying to make this work so I can actually still see the covers. They don't load if I make my window too
small. The cover of 60 is great too. Where he's swinging him like a piñata. Whoosh.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know. I think consensus is he's kind of like, he is a major villain, but if you had to go to
I hate this.
If you had to name one character, it's probably Daredevil, although I would almost argue Punisher, because like you said, Bullseye is probably the antithesis to Daredevil.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, the problem is that Daredevil doesn't have a fantastic amount of rogues, or, you know, I mean, on again, off again. You know, there's kind of the frenemy relationship with Elektra, but yeah, not really. I mean, he definitely couldn't call her a villain, I don't think, especially at this point in the comics. The Hand, I mean, and there's others, you know, I mean, but to me,
for a long time they're trying to make the Jester, which the Jester isn't even around really much anymore. I mean,
Echo, newer, obviously, but there's a lot of characters that he has like more fun relationships, like Punisher, you know, I mean,
Punisher is a very good, which I have more to say about him later, but I mean,
same.
He's the opposite side of the coin for sure. But the next topic I had was like, you know, the major point was the introduction and romance with Elektra. I thought that was really important.
Yes,
with his character. I saw an interview with Frank Miller where he was saying like, Gladiator, Owl, Mr. Fear. There you go.
Yes, especially Owl and Mr. Fear. I think are kind of elevated on that list. But even. Are they great villains though? I mean, Mr. Fear's pretty cool. Owl's kind of, I mean, he's not terrible, but I don't know.
Right.
Sorry.
I saw an interview with Frank Miller where he was talking about when he was writing Daredevil, and he'd seen a Superman movie recently or saw a trailer or something, but he's like, he was like, there was a thing where it was the whole Lois and Superman relationship, and he's like, why would someone like Superman want to date a human that's just normal? He's like, a superhero wants to date someone who's on par with them, who's a peer with them, and that's why he ended up writing Elektra.
Sorry, I finally got that to work.
All good. So yeah.
So. And yeah, Typhoid Mary definitely is one I should have on that list.
Kingpin, Bullseye, Typhoid Mary, the Hand, yeah.
And I mean, Typhoid Mary is so connected to Kingpin now that's, I guess that kind of lends some credence to him being more of a Daredevil villain in some ways. Gives him another extra.
And she's now like she's moved over. She's part of the X universe now, right? Too.
She was involved with it for quite a bit. I don't know where she is right now. Excuse me.
She's like, she's like Mutant Zero or something they call her.
Yeah. I'm not completely up on that, but she got transported along with a bunch of mutants from the Hellfire Gala where they all got killed. And she's kind of been more closely associated with them ever since then.
Right. So yeah, no, I think that was a great relationship with him. Like somebody who could hold a woman who could hold her own with the hero, you know. And that's you know, the Netflix series, that scene where it's him and Elektra versus the Hand, and they're going to, and then this, okay, all right, Crom, if you're watching this on the rewind, don't listen to this part. Do not listen for the next 15 seconds. The part where it looks like their Daredevil's going down, and then all of a sudden Frank pops up over the side of the building and starts popping. It's like, oh my God, that's so great. He's like, I got you back, Red. It's like, oh my God, it's so amazing.
Yeah. No, there's some real great moments in that. Speaking of Daredevil going down, there's another one you had there.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good storyline. And then the intro of Bullseye, I mean, that's probably one of his greatest villains that they've ever come up with, as we've been saying. And I think like the evolution of that character, and then that's the next part of the storyline. Yeah, Bullseye, amazing character. And just that's a key that I really want to get. I think it's an amazing book that I would
the first Elektra
have. First Bullseye.
First Bullseye. Yeah.
First Bullseye is a really good book.
Yeah. No. Well, and Bullseye is good because he's that kind of, you know, going back, I guess, a little bit to talking about how Daredevil has some echoes of Batman.
Right.
Bullseye has some echoes of Joker. Not the same. But
the way they've been more and more evolving his character, he's pretty much a total psychopath.
Yeah,
insane.
Total. Yeah, he he will kill for the craziest of reasons. You know, that don't.
His character when they were doing Dark Avengers when he was Hawkeye.
Yes,
scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. That's part of the reason. I keep I think I don't know. Maybe the general audience didn't like Dark Avengers. I thought it was cool.
It was really good. Like, yeah, he there's a scene where I don't know if you've read the he saves the woman. The muggers are gonna take her money and have their way with her, and he comes in and he just kills everybody, twang with the bow, and she's like, oh, thank you, you saved me. And he's like, oh, you thought you were saved, and he just kills her too.
Right. Like, no, when you say I'm right there with you. Like I think that is very very freaky.
Yeah.
And I love so I was talking about this, which, you know, for those that don't know, this is the death of Elektra. This issue, which I recently reread because I was trying to refresh myself on some of these storylines, because I haven't read some of this stuff since I was like a teenager in my early 20s, which, you know, I know it seems like it was just a couple of years ago to everybody. I get it, but it was actually a while ago. So I didn't really remember it. I forgot that this story pretty much takes place from Bullseye's perspective,
right?
Which is fun from just a storytelling perspective.
I have two of the pages in that section of the death of.
Oh, yep, you do. Let me see if I can pull those up here. If I was smart, I would have been doing screenshots from Marvel Unlimited.
Just gutter you when you're reading that book. It's just like, oh my gosh. The way that he portrayed that so well. Like, and like when he gets her, there's no question she's dead. He's gonna die.
Yeah.
Like,
there's the first one. Let's see if the second one wants to cooperate.
But me, I'm magic. I never miss.
There we go. Yeah, that one
just runs her through with the sigh. It's like,
and I love the like. There's this magenta stripe here, which kind of evokes like spatter, basically.
Right.
Really, really well done. And then she like does this like dying march to Matt's doorstep, basically.
I think couldn't be able to follow that bloody trail all the way down to Matt's apartment.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's good. It's good stuff. Actually, there's like 4 or 5 issues in a row that are just peak of this run.
Oh yeah.
Because right after that, which is obviously an amazing moment and done really well, you get we were talking about Punisher earlier. You get Punisher introduced,
right?
Daredevil, coming out of prison, fresh out of prison, and kind of goes on a rampage, trying to take out as many gangsters as he can. That's kind of you see more of that kind of in all of the comics at the time. How it affects Daredevil is kind of they go up against each other, and there's instantly kind of a respect between them. That's also kind of, I think Daredevil expects like, oh, we're going to have some kind of professional, we're both costumed guys doing this thing. And there is in the fact that Punisher doesn't outright just kill Daredevil or try to go for the kill shot. He uses like a tranquilizer shot and a couple other things. He won't shoot him. And Daredevil knows that later in the story, but it's just that ideology that I was talking about that I love with Punisher earlier, where he's got this just, I'm going to drop fools. Like that's what I'm going to do. And Daredevil is very much like Batman. Like, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to bring you to justice. Right. Like that's the idea. And it's just great to see those two play off of each other. I'm trying to think if there's a good is like Red Hood maybe might be the best kind of comparison if you keep going on the Batman. Maybe I'm trying to stretch that metaphor too far. It's definitely interesting to see how that works out as terms of them and their conflicts. And I'm so glad that they brought that to the Netflix stuff.
That rooftop scene where he's chained to the bricks and he has the gun in his hand.
Yeah.
And Punisher's like, you can either kill me or I'm going to kill him. Yeah.
It was very good stuff. And Punisher, my favorite Punisher stories of all time, I guess, are when he has conflict with Daredevil. Basically, has conflicts with other heroes. I love there's several stories where he's gone after Wolverine, and kind of like told Wolverine like, you need to chill, like you need to dial it down because otherwise I'm going to come for you for good. Basically fired warning shots across his bow, right? And of course the Punisher War Journal stuff that takes place with the Jim Lee issues with
the
Wolverine are amazing.
jungle issues,
yeah, those are great too. But more of the later stuff where like there's one fight in a mall that happens that's really great in one of the Wolverine issues later in the Larry Hama run. I think Larry Hama was off the book at that point, but anyways. There's some really great stuff that happens too with that, and it's just there's so many good stories with Punisher that involve his interactions with other heroes. I think that's where he kind of really shines, and a lot of it comes from the Daredevil stuff, which I think is important.
I mean, there's such almost the same side of a coin, but also polar opposites as far as like their viewpoint on things. It's like. Yeah, there's a great Bullseye miniseries that they did where it explains some of his past. It talks about like the first time he killed somebody. He's pitching like a perfect game in Little League, and his coach comes and takes him out of the game.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
He looks and it shows him looking at all the angles, and he acts like he's angry and he throws the ball like he's going to throw it into the stands, and it ricochets off the light post and off another light post and comes back and hits the coach right in the nose and kills the coach.
Guy is a sociopath.
Yeah.
So, man, this is really self-serving moment for me because everybody knows I'm a Cyclops fan. a lot of times around the same period of comics that we're talking about here, like the early 80s and that kind of stuff, there's a lot of mentions of Cyclops being really good about using his powers in a very similar way to how Bullseye is able to see like all the angles and stuff and do like these crazy trick shots. And it always made me want to see those two kind of go up against each other. And maybe they did at some point, but I don't remember ever seeing them go up each other. Now, Cyclops, he's not really doing that as much in the comics these days, which seems like a real missed opportunity. But at one point they kind of, make it a point to say it's almost like an extra mutant power of his that he can kind of see probabilities or kind of figure out what's the word I'm looking for? Not geometry, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. But I
didn't remember them that they did that on the show, because they did that in one of the comics too. So took it right out of the book.
Yeah. The Max stuff. Yep. There's some good stuff in there too, for sure. I guess this is kind of the second parter of that original Punisher.
That's a great cover.
Yeah. Yep. The just Frank Miller flexing right there.
just amazing. And I mean, he was really great at like portraying emotion too. Like, I mean, after Elektra died, like that cover where you got Matt hugging her grave and like just just really, really good at portraying what was going on with him.
Boy,
well, he's still trying to be a hero, but he's just lost the love of his life. And
this doesn't really fit into what we're talking about too much, but it's just a side note, because I was going through and kind of rereading some Daredevil stuff. Does Daredevil have the most messed up history with love interests out of any character?
I would say there's I think I put that in my notes. I said, is Daredevil like the original emo comic?
It's crazy to think about just how many weird relationships and failed relationships and stuff he's had. It's insane. By the way, speaking of covers and stuff, I grabbed I think this is the Death of Stick or whatever. I love this cover, and I've always
that is that's the one I homaged for that Usagi picture.
Yes, and that's kind of the reason I thought of it is you kind of recently did that. I love that. I was grabbing it, so may as well.
Chris, well, hugging her grave was iconic, but they jumped the shark or something. Hilarious.
The part that was over the line to me is when he blamed the hole in the ground on the Gophers. I think that was just over the line.
Yes, I mean, you're talking about. I mean, that kind of jumps to the Typhoid Mary thing, the messed up love interests thing and everything, which that story arc holds a special place in my heart, because I was going through the first big like tragic love interest thing in my life when I was in high school, and I was reading that, and I was like, oh my God, the emo kid in high school screaming at the sky when it's raining outside and thunder and lightning,
listening to Depeche Mode.
So I mean that Typhoid Mary run, really good.
Red Pool want to know what time the episodes drop. Looks like Chris already beat us to the punch here. 6 p.m. Pacific. So 6 p.m. Pacific on Wednesday. Gosh, Disney. So I've been watching Severance, and one of the things about Severance is the episodes drop, like they're supposed to drop on Friday, but they drop at like 9 p.m. Pacific, because that's midnight Eastern time for Friday on Thursday. I wish they did that.
Right.
Couldn't let Bullseye be the last one to stick her.
Go too soon.
Bullseye's angry at you, Jay. Bullseye is very mad in this first appearance of Lady Deathstrike, before she's Lady Deathstrike.
Right.
Which I just pulled up.
That's when he's going to get his adamantium spine in that story arc.
Yeah.
Because in 100, Daredevil shatters his spine, throws him off the top of the building.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I remember there was around that time there was a lot of like, is Bullseye a mutant kind of thing too, which is kind of interesting.
right.
I don't think that ever happened, but
I think Elektra's a great character, great supporting character, love interest, and like the Elektra Assassin miniseries is great.
Oh man,
by Miller and Sienkiewicz. It's like
Sienkiewicz covers were just so gorgeous in that.
Yeah,
that's some of my favorite covers of any.
The interior art too. It's all amazing.
But I mean, totally. But the covers are just iconic. Because you show one of them here, which is one of the better ones. I love the black cover where she's kind of crawling around on the ground too.
Yeah, I give you the one where it's her head with the bandana blowing in the wind.
Yes, yeah, awesome, that's a great one too.
And the cover to the collected graphic novel is awesome. But
yeah,
just classic stuff by Bill.
Oh, this one, yeah, I'll pull this one up too. I'll show off one more classic from the classic volume of Daredevil because it's the last major key issue I have. I don't know that it's one of the greatest stories, but I just, I'll show it real fast. This is the introduction of Blackheart, Mephisto's son.
Oh yeah.
Which it just is kind of weird that it happens in Daredevil in some ways.
There was a lot of weird stuff going on in Daredevil. They had him facing off against Ultron. They had a lot of weird stuff going on during that time period. I mean,
but it does sort of make sense because he's kind of at the time, especially kind of known as like the religious superhero, the Catholic superhero. And I know there were others, but he's kind of like the poster child for it at the time. So Mephisto being the devil kind of makes sense to introduce that.
Interesting to see I have Daredevil and Nightcrawler team up. So they're both religious and both.
It has to have happened.
Devil-looking characters, both of them. So.
Yeah.
I think my last talking point was the Joe Quesada Kevin Smith run. I really, really, really enjoyed that.
You mean this one?
That one, yeah.
This is actually the first Daredevil stuff that I very much connected to. Because I think I was a little bit older when it came out, so I just kind of had the maturity to kind of appreciate it on a different level.
Right.
And I was a big Kevin Smith fan, which I think played into it a little bit, but I can genuinely say it's his best comic work that I've read. He's had some pretty questionable stuff in terms of comic quality.
It's so well drawn though, and so well written. Like, and they, yeah.
And shout out to
anybody who hasn't read it, but I mean, like that, they're pulling no punches. It's like they're running Daredevil through the barbed wire.
Let's just say Karen's Pages would probably not be a fan of this, or maybe she is. I don't know. I mean, let's just say there's a relationship there that's soured in a very permanent seeming way. Shout out to Jimmy Palmiotti was the inker on this too. He did a great job. Quesada did a great job on the art, like you're mentioning. Just complete package, good story. If you read the arc, it's almost like just a good self-contained maxi series in a lot of ways.
Right.
I mean, the story continues after that, but you can just kind of read I think it's the first 12 issues, I want to say.
The Max stuff after that.
Yeah, because this is Marvel Knights, and then it goes into Max, which, yeah.
The David Mack.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I love that. Well, we're on the topic of kind of some modern stuff too, and I mentioned earlier, I'll show it up because I don't know how much more we're going to talk about all this stuff. But there's the Elektra's Daredevil Virgin cover for when that happened, and I'm still a big fan of it.
An important character. I mean, they just recently got married. For a while there, Daredevil Matt's in jail, and she takes up the mantle of Daredevil, and that's really cool. So
it was neat because it was neat seeing her. It reminded me a lot of Superior Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
It's in terms of like seeing somebody who believes they're more capable of doing the job, Like she
Right.
comes in, she's confident. She's like, I got this. This is not like I'll have to dumb myself down to do this job. Basically, is kind of her arrogance when she comes into it.
Right.
But then she kind of learns that she has to do things a little bit differently.
Right.
Sort of like, and I think that to Otto Octavius's credit, to the writer's credit, he kind of realizes like, okay, I can't just do this. Like I would do it as Doc Ock, cosplaying Spider-Man. Like he does a lot of that, but he realizes it doesn't always work, and he has to kind of change his approach,
Right.
which is fun to see. So
yeah, and then they become like more sympathetic to the other character.
I really want to get Kevin Smith and Jimmy Palmiotti and Quesada to sign this at some point. That'd be a cool.
That'd be cool. That'd be a good one to get signed for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that cover. That's just an amazing cover.
It's an amazing cover, which I think, it was like, oh, Kevin Smith and the cover, and I just bought it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I actually think I like Daredevil more than I thought. It's a perfect jumping on point, I think, for people, as far as if, I know it can be a little hard for modern readers, younger readers, kind of like I was talking about watching, French Connection earlier or whatever. It can be a little hard to dive into some, if you're going to start reading Daredevil 1 from the 60s or something like that, that can be a little intimidating. And that's a good place to just, if you want to read a kind of a more modern story that kind of lines up with the energy and the motif of the Netflix series.
Right. Yeah, it was great. Daredevil's always been one of the characters that they did more of like almost like just a more serious, more mature reader's take on that character throughout the title, more and darker and grittier than the rest of the Marvel universe.
Yes.
So yeah, and I remember my first time was reading Daredevil, I was like, oh wow, this guy is just like, he just patrols this little corner of the city, and that's his thing, and that he's trying to protect these few people in this part of this crime-ridden area of the city. And I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, the only title I think that kind of comes close to Daredevil is the Green Arrow stuff he did. I will say, if you read the first 2 issues of the Spider-Man Black Cat stuff, I thought it had potential, but it just, he got, I don't know what the deal is, but it kind of infamously took him a long time to wrap that up, and the quality dropped off majorly.
There's some
multi-year
heavy themes in that book, and there was some backlash about that. And
and I thought it could have had potential, depending on how it would have been finished, if he would have sat down and wrote it all at once, or over a few months. I think it changed a lot because it took him a long time to finish it. I don't know if that was drug use. I don't know what really caused that. His personal life, maybe.
Right. That storyline deals with Black Cat fighting bad guys, and she loses the fight, and she gets like sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
During the fight.
And that's what I like, is that he's willing to. That sounds really terrible. What I like is that he's willing to tackle heavy concepts, and he does in pretty much all of his stories that he's written. But sometimes I feel like it's almost maybe more shock value or something like that.
Yeah, and I was reading that, and with the way the covers were done for that and everything, it looked like it was more of a lighthearted Spider-Man Black Cat.
You got this Terry Dodson cover.
Reading that, and I was like, oh, whoa.
Yeah.
And like Elektra Assassin deals some very dark, heavy stuff in there about abuse when she was a child and everything and stuff too. But it's like
the covers represent the book more, though. With the Sienkiewicz covers, like they kind of have that
marketed to the mature reader, letting you know it's going to be dark.
Yeah.
So
I think that Black Cat should be engaged to marry Batman, but then leave him standing at the altar and not pay off 50 issues of continuity leading up to the marriage. Oh wait, no, that was Catwoman. I'm sorry.
I love the whole identity crisis thing where they had the thing where Zatanna had, where they're talking about how they had erased Dr. Light's memory, and then they're talking about how many times they've erased Batman's memory, and then they're talking about, we realized that if we didn't get help, we were afraid that we were going to lose Bruce. So they insinuate that they captured Catwoman and erased her memory and made her sympathetic to helping Bruce.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought it was a really interesting take.
Should Batman be married since he has 4 kids? Well, I think he has a right to be married.
I love that take in Harley, the most recent, where he's talking about all his wards. He died tragically. He died tragically. He died tragically.
I can't remember. There's somebody at the table who's just kind of like,
It was Joker. Joker's like, seems a little irresponsible.
That was great. I love I think it was the last season where Harley goes into his head. I think it's like the season finale from last season or something like that. That was a pretty good one too.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But yeah, I think those are some of the highlights for Daredevil for me. I mean, we kind of lightly touched on the Typhoid Mary stuff, but I think that's also really good reading. Like some messed up romance.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really good stuff.
And also, we never even talked about like the Daredevil Yellow. Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb.
So good,
really good stuff. Origin story stuff.
Out of all their color series they did, that's my favorite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, and there's some really good miniseries out there. Daredevil Father, also a really good miniseries. Yeah. But
I'm quickly pulling up our community art here because we probably should try to wrap up the show.
Right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Be nice to our producer and everything, but I do want to do that. Could you guys get each? I'm sorry, what? I mean, like, no. Should Harley Quinn get Sonic? Like the Hedgehog? I love how these questions just get more and more. I love it.
Bizarre. How bizarre.
My brain is not working for some reason. I'm like, what button do I hit to make the thing go? I don't want to open
the go button.
I don't want to open it in Paint. That's not a very good application for showing this stuff off. Yeah, the go button. I'll never forget the time that my friend, we were playing Halo like 3 or something back on the Xbox 360 back in the day. And I'm playing with my girlfriend at the time, later fiance, now my wife, and a couple friends. And my best friend, Nick, says, you guys, you just got to hit the, you just got to do better. Just do better. And I was like, okay, I'll just hit the do better button. Which one is that again? All right, here we go. That was enough stalling. I got it working. So this is our community art section. Every week you could send us a piece of artwork. We're going to share it on the show. This one comes to us from Headless Hammerhead, who submitted this. There was a little bit of a backstory to this one. I cannot remember for the life of me what it was, because it's been about a week and my brain does not store information that long. So I'm sorry. Still some cool art.
Nice.
Yeah.
It looks Harley-esque.
A little bit Harley. Several different things kind of come to mind.
Little Harley, little Kabuki, little.
Yeah. I'm sharing 2 from CJ Designs because they're both relevant to what we talked about tonight, and we ended up with 2. I think one's going to come up a little bit later, but hey, you got a little Punisher from CJ Designs. Did a good job there. Nice work on that.
Young Punisher.
Yes. Yeah. And these are a couple. You probably can tell me a little bit more about a couple of these because you're the one that dropped them into the show.
Eric from SideQuest. Some more of his watercolor work, mixed medium stuff, but it's beautiful. I'm not sure the character. It kind of looks like a Vampirella cosplay with a blonde.
It kind of looks like, to me, it kind of looks like Buffy as Vampirella.
Yeah, I could see that. I see
a little Sarah Michelle Gellar in there. I was actually hoping you knew.
Don't have all the info. Okay, he said what it says on the Headless Hammerhead.
Okay,
Jinsei Wada. I probably butchered that. Oh, Buffy from a famous Rolling Stone cover.
Okay, well, I'm glad that I caught the likeness for Sarah Michelle Gellar in there.
Yeah.
I don't remember her ever being in that kind of outfit though. So there we go. This is probably Chris messing with us. No, it's probably real because
It
does.
I think I remember.
Familiar.
Well, unless he's totally messing with, but I think I kind of remember
that. But hey, good enough that I saw the likeness. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, beautiful artwork though.
There's Dan Kelly. I'll try to zoom in on these. That just gives us the name, but I'll try to zoom in on the art so we can see a little bit better. Fantastic Swamp Thing from Dan. He just shared, follow Dan Kelly, and his name has an E after the double L's there in Kelly. Follow him on IG. He just did a really good Catwoman piece, which we might show off next week if he decides to share that with us. But he just posted that. I really like it. He did an awesome one of those, and I really like this Man Thing too. So
yeah, that's awesome. You know, I forgot to get Elliot's stuff this week.
Oh, did he send one in too?
Yeah.
Speaking of, but I think all these are regular submitters this week, which is awesome. We got Roscoe coming in with some TMNT. So this is Rocco's Modern Life, right?
Right. Yep.
But I don't know who's the character on. I don't know this character.
I don't know the character who's somebody's. It looks familiar, but I don't know who the character is.
Maybe because it's obviously a turtle, so maybe it's his take on what a turtle would look like.
It's a character from Rocco.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Who is a turtle?
Probably.
Okay. Sorry, I'm asking you.
I didn't watch enough Rocco.
Oh, did I say like Swamp Thing or something?
I thought you said Man Thing. Did you say Swamp Thing? I didn't.
Oh, maybe I did.
My brain's getting there too. So
yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry if I did. I'm not a real nerd, folks. Okay. It's good art. I'm sorry if I don't know the character here, but it's a blast from the past. I remember Rocco was a comic collector. I remember that. I don't remember much about that show, but I do remember he collected comics, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a great picture though.
Wow.
Dominic Gomez.
That's cool. I like that a lot. I like the presentation alone is cool. Almost like a tarot card kind of, but maybe not quite. I don't know, but I got that. Oh my gosh, my memory sucks tonight. The name of this kind of stippling effect is one I know, but I can't pull it at the moment.
Well, it looks like fabric to me almost.
Yeah, but that's a very specific. Maybe it's kind of trying to look like a card texture too, but I think it's
pointillism. What are you thinking of?
Oh no, there's a name for it when it's used in print for comics. Ooh, it's gonna bother me. Let's see if I can pull it here.
Well, while you're doing that, so Dominic Gomez
yes.
On Instagram, I know he just posted that his commissions are
Zipatone.
Open to anybody. What's it called? Zipatone? Yes. Zipatone. There we go. So his commissions are open for commission for requests. So yeah. But a very beautiful piece. Good job.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. Magic's because of the Marvel Rivals, she's got a lot of Magic, Squirrel Girl, Psylocke, and Invisible Woman.
And he's also releasing his comic that he did a Kickstarter. It got close to completing, but it didn't quite kick. So he's releasing that on Instagram as well, I believe. So
okay, that's too bad that I didn't
on
make
Instagram.
it. But hey, you got a chance to go check it out now on Instagram. And then I was too perfect for us not to share, even though technically we kind of broke a rule, but it happened to go with our theme. So
right, both of them
CG Designs coming in with the not only Daredevil but also Elektra in the background there.
Yeah,
very cool. I
job.
wonder if one day if this comic trope guy, I wonder if he'll ever submit some artwork for our show.
Yeah,
I know he does some art.
It's possible. I hear he scribbles a little.
Yeah, I hear he's actually got some stuff coming out in this upcoming issue of Radiant Black.
Yeah. Well, we should pimp that.
Yeah, I believe. Oh man, I have it pre-ordered now. Is it issue 31 or 32? I can't remember.
I'm sure he'll tell us here. But
I'm sure he'll tell us.
Radiant Black coming up. There's going to be an issue of Radiant Black that's going to have a story in the back of it by Chris for Comic Tropes. Was it written, drawn, and inked by Chris? I believe.
Yeah, he did like all but one. I think he maybe didn't do colors.
Colored and lettered by somebody else, I think. was colored and lettered by someone else. Maybe?
I think he lettered it too, actually. But now I'm wrong. I'm sure I'm wrong now.
I'm sure he'll correct us on all of these things and be like,
yeah,
he's guys have terrible memories. Alzheimer's is setting in.
He's doing a signing on release day at Stargazer. By the way, Stargazer is a really fun shop. That's where I got my Infinity Gauntlet number 1 that I had Jim Starlin sign. I actually picked it up there, as well as some other comic books. But that one I remember. Oh, I think I got my first appearance of the Dinobots there too. Was that Transformers 7 or something? I can't remember. But
look, I was right.
Letters by Becca Carey, colors by Mark Englert. I always will say Englert.
So written, drawn, and inked by Chris.
Very cool, and good job having a better memory than me. Not hard to do. Hey, while we're kind of rolling out, I just had to show this off.
Yeah, you got to have a booty cover in here.
I mean, I'm like contractually obligated in some ways. In fact, I will even.
Is that David Mack?
This is Alex Maleev.
Oh, Maleev. Okay.
But there you go, folks. I just like that a lot because of my stupid things I like. So there you go.
There's nothing stupid about
it. But that said, I do think we need to kind of.
Chris had one more point.
There also will be my Vampirella cover and my Eisner nominated book, Trickster. Awesome. If it's on release day. Okay, so maybe if I could get that
March
clear, then perhaps I could get you to remark your Vampirella. Because I have that without the trade dress on the top, which I thought would be cool for a remark up there. I don't know. Maybe you'll be too busy because there's so many people getting books signed because it's going to be a huge hit. I hear.
I was, leave it with him and pick it up later.
That's true. Because I have something I need to give him as well. That'd be a perfect opportunity.
I have a lot of stuff I need to give you. I've got a stack.
Yeah, that's true. You've got a huge amount of. I heard you're giving me like all your prized comic books. It's weird.
That's when you need to start looking out for somebody when they start giving away their prized possessions.
Jeez, that's true. Yeah, that's dark and true. I was just going to ask you as we're trying to wrap up here. Is there anything that you need to plug coming up, or anything you want to talk about?
I'm on this show every Monday night.
It sounds really terrible.
This awesome guy, and that's been my main thing. Has been being on the show with Chris. I love being on there. I might be having to work out of state here for a couple weeks, so we might be having a different background. I'll bring all my gear that I can, and we'll set up and do our best. But we'll have a different flavor in the background.
All I'll say is that you're saying Peach Momolo, which sounds like, is that like a knockoff Peach Momoko?
It's a mashup of Jason Momoa and Peach Momoko.
Speaking of which, I think I might end up going to see that Minecraft movie. He's going to be in that.
When are you guys swapping your Frankensteins?
Well, that's every Monday night after the show. No, that's Saturday, March 15th. At Lloyd Center Mall in Portland, Oregon. If you're going to be around for that, definitely come check it out. I'll be behind a table vending, and Bigby will be on the other side of the table getting all the good deals.
I'm going to try to be doing that. I don't know. I've got to get some things taken care of.
I hear you. Meech Pamoko.
Meech Pamoko.
I was going to tell Chris he better start practicing his booty remarks because we all know what I'm going to request. Right. That would be a rare piece indeed. I guess the thing I'll plug is Chris mentioned it earlier. I do have an interview on the channel with Christopher Priest that dropped the other day. I believe it dropped on Saturday, I want to say. Go check that out. It's a fun interview. Some people were digging it. I know it's probably not going to get a billion views or anything like that because I haven't uploaded in a while, but I think it was a good interview. I think Christopher told some great stories. Don't worry, you don't have to listen to me talk too much. It's pretty much all Christopher. Which, by the way, shout out to Christopher. Just like me, I prefer Christopher. He does too. We had a fun little conversation about that right before the show started. So he's like, do people always just end up calling you Chris? And I was like, yeah, they do. And I went to school with a bunch of Chris's. So I was like, oh, I'll try to be a little different by saying I'm Christopher, and that'll help maybe a little bit. I also worked at a movie theater once, true story, with 5 employees, including myself, named Chris or Christopher or some variation of that with different spellings. That was a nightmare. We ended up calling the 5th one, we just called him Laser. We're like, your name's just Laser. Like, you're not, sorry. You're not going to be a Chris. There's too many of us.
We're just go by last name. Start going by everybody's last name.
Oh, we did. Yeah, we did variations of that. We did whatever it took to, because I mean, there's always that conversation. Oh, Chris. Oh, which one? Johnson or Patrick or whatever. Right?
Right.
Falcon keeps falling over. Bad Lieutenant Falcon. Bad.
Lieutenant Falcon. Too many peach mimosas.
Yeah. I know you. And there's nothing wrong with Chris's. I'm just saying that it's a differentiate, and I don't like. Because there's so many names where if you say like, oh, I'm gonna blank on this now. Like you say like I'm Benjamin. People don't call you Ben very often, but if you say I'm Christopher, they call you Chris pretty quickly.
Say you're Richard, they call you Dick.
You can. I'll let you. Oh, that's true. Your wife is. Yeah. Chrissy, right? My stepdad is Chris the Third. His dad.
There's a little confusion going on there. Chris, everybody turns.
Yeah, and what's this is like one of those things where you're like nephews, cousins, boyfriends, dogs, brothers, uncle is also Chris or something too. I feel like that's where that's going to go. Yeah, it became super common. I was partially named after Chris Christopherson too, which I don't know.
Oh, that's cool.
Kind of partially is why I guess I preferred Christopher, because that's why my name's spelled with a K too. But he's Chris Christopherson. Christopherson isn't Christopher is in there. So
Topherson.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just weird. Maybe that's all the answer.
Is that where like Topher Grace got his? Because he didn't want to be called Chris. Just like took the last half of it.
Am I crazy? I think his name actually is Topher, isn't it?
Probably.
I can't remember. I mean, that's the natural progression, stopping the vampires out there. Got to make the weapons for Blade. I could do that. Yeah, I could do that. For sure. I could get the long biker hair look thing going on, just wear like assless leather chaps. That's what I remember him looking like in that movie. That's right.
Right. That's what you're wearing right now. So, I mean,
well, no, I'm not wearing many pants right now. I'm streaming.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
You're so
big and strong.
I love that. I need to rewatch that movie. Christopher, damn it, Jay, you're ruining all my fun. I was hoping.
So Topher Grace is so he dropped the Chris part and just used the Topher. There we go. I was just curious. I'm like, hey, I wonder if he.
No one ever asked for the assless chaps with me, but they always get them. That's the little bonus I like to leave. I always leave them wanting less, and
I love it.
Right? No one should have to. On that note, now that you all have your nightmare fuel for the long slumber you're about to enjoy, I hope. Sweet dreams, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed the show. If you're watching on the rewind, we'd sure love to hear your comments and your thoughts on Daredevil and stories you've enjoyed about Daredevil. And there's a lot of stuff we probably missed.
A lot of questions we had in there to the audience. So yeah, we'd love to hear your comments on your thoughts on the role of Kingpin as whose villain he is, where he belongs in that hierarchy, where Bullseye belongs in that, that whole thing. Is the most messed up romances for Daredevil. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I would go with Topher Ultimate Jungle Predator Grace.
That was an interesting twist in that movie.
I love that twist in that movie for sure. Anyways, that said, folks, we hope you enjoyed the show. We're way over on time, so we'll get out of here. Let me get some sleep. Catch you on the next one. We will be back next Monday with another exciting topic. If you have a suggestion for one of those topics, drop that in the comments as well. We'd love to hear about it. If you want us to tackle, anything coming on TV and talk about, great stories to read for that, that's an awesome thing we could do, or whatever else you want to suggest. Hey, absolutely. I love that you were watching the show. Thanks, Cyclotron. Appreciate it for popping in. Really do appreciate the watches. And yeah, everybody have a great night. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.